We're back, and we've missed you. This is episode 82 of the DOD45 Show, and our special guest to open up Series 7 is one of our all-time favorites, Canadian rapper, DJ, producer, author, radio host, and Substack scriber extraordinaire with a vast and celebrated catalog of hip-hop music incorporating blues, country, rock, folk, and avant-garde, the maestro of magnificent, the wicked and weird, the Beaver Trilogy buff, mind behind 20-odd years, and the Juno Award-winning Talkin' Honky Blues. It's the congenial, the most wonderful Buck 65.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
DOD45.
This is the DOD45 Show, drawing over discussions 45 minutes with a special guest. Welcome. I'm your host and resident artist, Tai of ArtByTai, and with my co-host, Adrienne Willie, we're having conversations with people who I admire and am inspired by. On this episode, I'll set a 45-minute timer, put my pen to the paper, and we'll learn about our guest through an interview-style discussion. So stay right here with us to experience some laughs and maybe even learn a thing or two.
DOD45.
Welcome, greetings everyone, welcome back. Welcome back from our big, long break. It's Series 7 now. We needed a break from art. We needed a break to do some art shows. And...
No, I thought you needed a break so that you could get all your work done.
Yes. Yeah, I needed to take a break we needed to take a break from the show because we've got the intrinsic art show at the gallery. Anyway, it was a bunch of stuff. Plus, you know, sometimes we need to take a break to get work out which guests we're getting on the show, etc., etc., etc. Our guest today is Buck 65, which is really fantastic, aka Rich Turfry, aka a bunch of other monikers like Stinking Rich and Johnny Rockwell. Did you know that was one of his?
I think I did know that.
It's just, and I only note that because we have a really good friend, past guest also on the DOD45 show, whose name is Johnny, who is a co-owner of a company called Rockwell Watches. Great watches. Oh, I'm not wearing mine, but he goes by Johnny Rockwell. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of something.
Because he was stealing from Buck 65.
I wonder if Johnny's not
Johnny doesn't
hip-hop.
know Buck 65.
But Johnny, if you play a song, there's a TV show called Finish These Lyrics or something. Johnny knows billboards and top the 45. What do they do? Top 45, top 50 charts. He knows all the chart songs. He likes those sort of things. Anyway,
Can't get situated here.
God, I can tell. Do you need an apple box?
I don't know what I need. Everything's wrong. Does that seem fine?
Yeah, I don't.
I kind of feel like I'm wearing a hat. I'm not used to seeing me with bangs on here, even though they've been there for a minute. I've got a hat on.
You want to wear a hat? I've got a whole thing of hats.
Well, it looks like I have a helmet on with this.
No, it doesn't.
Bang.
You're overthinking everything. It looks like you're wearing headphones.
Dark helmet. I look like Dark Helmet right now.
Lord Dark Helmet. Buck 65 has a Substack called Vertices, and their insights into the Buck 65 catalog. You should definitely go check that out.
I did. I checked it out.
Yeah. I'm sure you did. Did you read a bunch of it? No.
I did read about his kidney stones.
Oh.
Did you read that?
Well, I wasn't going to bring up any of his health things because I didn't know.
Oh, well, he wrote it.
Well, he wrote it. That's true. So, you wrote down in our show notes, Synesthesia.
Yeah. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, that's one of Buck 65's albums.
Oh, it is? Well, it's funny because...
Oh, maybe... I'm pretty sure it is.
So, when I read his book, which I adore, and I have it right here.
Called Wicked and Weird.
It goes with me everywhere. Just kidding, it doesn't. But he wrote down something, and I looked it up last night, and it wasn't that, but it was similar. But when I was reading the book, I saw that. And of course my brain...
The word?
Yeah, and I thought I saw that, which I recognized as the piano app, and something I have looked at before, and it wasn't the same word, though, I noticed yesterday. Anyway, when I was Googling it, it had me learn that when some people see letters and things, they have colors. Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I knew my alphabet, but I didn't know the sound association with the letter. I had a color association with each letter. Sorry. So when they sent home flashcards, like if it was DOG, I would be like green, red, yellow. And there was no like clue that like was dog.
Your colors green, red, yellow equal to dog?
Yes. No, the letters didn't equal dog. They had no sound. I knew that they were a shape with a name. I'm having a really hard time right now explaining.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Anyway, letters had colors for me, and numbers had smells.
Ah, is that what synesthesia is?
Yes. But he wrote something else down. I can't remember, but it was similar, but it was something to do with shapes.
Yeah, well, the Buck 65 I think it's pronounced synesthesia, is it's only I've only seen it on his Bandcamp. It's and there's 3 songs on there: Shape 1, Shape 2, and Shape 3.
After the show, every rapper I know is like, can I get a hoe? And it's so gross, they wanna do woodwork, hammering, screwing like a carpenter. They sharpen their pencil with any kind of sharpener. Don't matter, fat or skinny, serve it on a silver platter. Skip the formalities and get on to iller matters.
Oh, so I think he had shapes.
And this is an album from 2001. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's
interesting.
It was interesting because I had a really hard time in school figuring this stuff out. Like the kid, I couldn't. When I finally started to get it didn't make sense again because like why isn't that spelled IZ? And the kid next to me could spell dinosaur. Like it was just frustrating. So anyway,
I think I can't even spell dinosaur still, but yeah, I guess so.
It was first grade. He could spell dinosaur.
Wow. Well.
I hated that kid.
Is that the kid you stole who stole a skateboard?
No, this is first grade. No. Oh. He was the heir of a...
Oh, yeah.
What?
Cleaning...
No, not that one. Oh. No, I lived in that rich neighborhood, though. He was the heir of one of the big car dealerships in our area growing up.
A Miller?
Not a Miller.
Oh, anyway. Wow.
Anyway, yeah, I didn't go through that the way I wanted to.
None of it made sense, even if you did go through it in a way you wanted to.
Well, numbers made more sense to me because they would show pictures, like 5 cookies plus 1 more cookie. But with letters, if they would have had the dog next to the DOG, maybe I would have figured out the sounds.
So if you were on an episode of 8 out of 10 Cats and Jimmy Carr said, Adrienne, are you better with the maths or the numbers?
I would say I'm now better with
the math. They say, are you better with the maths or the letters?
I'm now better with words than I am math.
He's got that. There's a song, I don't even remember what album it's off, called Zombie Delight.
Zombies are on the loose, be courageous. They're totally disgusting, their condition is contagious. They'll try to bite your body, but don't let them. The situation's getting worse, we better go get them. Zombie apocalypse, the day has come, the party starts. Look out for raggedy people.
Yeah.
And remember, I was working on that zombie, I was writing a zombie script that was, it was like the UFC, it was like with the UFC, because I have connections through fighters and stuff. It was going to be, I don't want to give away the idea because I still have the screenplay and I want to use it someday. Anyway, I really wanted that Zombie Delight to be like the opening theme song to this movie that was a zombie movie. And it also involved mixed media arts, like fighting. I might still end up doing that later in my later years.
Mixed media arts?
Mixed martial arts.
Wow.
But anyway, I remember like we'd finished the script, and we were kind of shopping ideas around of like who we could get to star. This was back when Tito Ortiz was like top guy. Anyway, fucking Zombieland came out. The movie Zombieland came out, and the opening title sequence, it wasn't Buck 65 song Zombie Delight, was another song. I can't remember the composer that did the soundtrack for Zombieland. It's great, but it kind of like took the wind out of my sails on that, because someone came out with a kind of like an edgy zombie movie that I was going to do. Anyway, I'm not going to give away the idea on that. Real quick, let me do some things to mention. I did the album cover, or that's not album cover artwork. I'm hoping that you people out there, what?
Oh, it was stumbling? It was hard to get in here.
Yeah, we've been on break for so long.
And now we're both struggling.
Yeah. Shit. Well, okay. Oh, hey, I hope you've had a chance to check out the song Master Cleanse by Old Boy Rhymes, featuring Rituals of Mind, Sage Francis, produced by Alexander Brown.
How can I watch all these kids get killed and not speak up, along with healthcare workers and not speak up, journalists upon journalists and not speak up, while so many mouthpieces seem to feel the need to keep shut? For what? Is that career suicide to you? Or just the comfortable but scared side of you? Who was thumping their Bible when Bethlehem got bombed on Christmas?
I did the album, or the cover artwork for that. I'm sure you've had a chance to see it. My artwork for it is based off of Emile Signal's painting called Taking of Jerusalem by the Crusaders, July 15th, 1099. It's an old painting. So I used that as the basis for it. So hopefully you've had a chance to check out that song. It's incredible. It's really moving, and it speaks on levels that it articulates probably a lot of how I feel about the situation in Gaza. And here's the thing. I don't get into I'm not educated enough to get into really heavy conversations about foreign affairs and even internal affairs. I don't get into debates about those things because I'm not educated enough to do it, and I don't want to provide fuel to the opposing people who are on the bad side of things. By not bad, whatever. On the opposite side of it, my miseducation, because I can't debate well on things. I don't speak my opinions a lot. So that's that. Anyway, I hope you have had a chance to check out Master Cleanse. Slughead was our last album. I really like
that old boy's voice.
Yeah, he's got a cool voice. It's really gritty, growly.
You're crying ultraviolet tears, looking at us fighting like tribes with spears on our tiny sphere. If you're like Werner von Braun, what's the consequence of murder? They don't take your life away just like some non-essential workers. I'm not talking about your server, I'm not talking flipping burgers. I'm talking about the hate like when the Christians fought the Berbers. We know some scars are ancient and they lead to dark places like the hearts are hard and racing.
You know, the other night when you were watching Mad Max 2?
Yeah.
It was funny because I was up there cleaning my office and I had to go to the bathroom, so I was walking past, not the screen, but where I could hear the volume of the TV. And there was this line that was like, now, of course, I can't remember.
A line of dialogue?
A line of dialogue, not cocaine. And I was like, I know this. And then it's from a Buck 65 song.
Oh.
I'll give you
a sample?
Yeah, it sounded like, I thought it was like Yoda. I always thought it was, I mean, it's only been out for about a year, but I thought it was Yoda or something.
Oh, I know.
It was like,
yeah. Yeah.
The Arts of War or something. I can't think of it
Yeah,
now.
it's the kid in Road Warrior. He's the one that's telling the story. Do you remember Road Warrior? No. The little kid that throws
I don't think I ever saw that.
What's the thing that comes back to you from Australia?
A boomerang?
Is that what it's called? A boomerang? Yeah. The little kid is the one at the first of the movie. He's narrating he's telling the story, but in the movie he's just the little kid, and so he's explaining the legend of Mad Max.
And he's a human?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I think maybe that's the sample. I don't know exactly what
I'll send it to you. I have it marked because it's right after that. I was like, I know that's it. Because I said the lines in my head as it was going.
Slughead was our last episode before we went on break, right?
Yes.
They got a new album coming out. They're working on a metal album, and we heard a couple of songs the other night, and it's really cool. I don't know. It's such a weird progression from what they made, but it still kind of sounds like them, but it's metal. I don't know. It's cool.
Funny. Funny kids.
This was something that I had wrote down that I was thinking on our drive out here. I think I'm mostly a casual listener and viewer, like a casual listener of music and a casual movie watcher. Though I call myself a movie buff and someone who loves music, I think I mostly just take things on the surface. And then when I really like something, I just like it a whole lot. I don't know the ins and outs of things. So, the reason I bring this up is because when I research a guest, I discover a lot of stuff about them that I think most people who are deep divers know about, but I just don't know. And it's really interesting to me. So our show, DOD45, gives me a reason to dig deeper into people, and I thoroughly enjoy that because I call it the part of the work we do, but it's more of a hobby. And so it gives me an opportunity to really appreciate people's music. So anyway, and then the other thing, I had this thought about doing chores as a kid, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have any thoughts on doing chores as a kid or anything?
Yeah. Well, mostly our chores fluctuated. Not fluctuated.
How did you guys do your chores? Because you bounced back and forth between your parents.
Oh, I never did chores at my dad's unless it was like Saturday.
But it was just you and your brother usually.
Yeah.
So did you guys have chores separated?
Yeah. If I did the dishes yesterday, Jesse does them today. And if he vacuumed yesterday, then I'm vacuuming today. That was our daily chores. And when we heard, so we lived on the foothill of a mountain, and we could hear, my mom had a Camaro that was throaty, and then we had the Chevy pickup that was also very loud. And so you could hear them at the bottom of Kensington. And that's when, like, we would be watching Punky Brewster, but we'd have one ear kind of out the door, not actually, but listening. And the second we heard either car, it was usually Joe, my stepdad first. The second we heard the truck, turn off the TV and just run that vacuum. We had about 2 minutes and wash all the dishes from the previous day's dinner and the breakfast dishes. So it was a sink full of dishes, and we'd hurry and try to get those done before he walked in the door.
Yeah, that's funny. That's what's similar to like when my dad would come home. I'd hurry if I was sitting on a couch or had the TV on. I'd just hurry up and turn it off and act like I had just got done doing something or I'm doing something. Like I was fearful of his thought of like that I was just loafing. Mm-hmm. And I think our kids. I know our son, I think he does that too sometimes. I guess that's what we impose onto as parents to your children. You're like, don't just fucking loaf around. I don't know. But it's like, what's what you should be doing when you're a teenager and a kid.
Shouldn't. You should be outside.
Well, okay. But still, I mean, like, loaf around. Enjoy the time.
No, we would scurry out. We'd get that done in 2 minutes. And by the time he was out of the truck, we were beelining for the backyard.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of try and get out of there.
Well, I had this thought about this story. The reason I had put that on there is I was remembering this story of me and my brother had to take the garbages out. It was what we had to do. And I fucking forgot every year. I mean, not sorry, every week. I just forgot. I don't know why, but I did. I'm still too, well, I'm better at things now, but I just forget about things. My mind's overwhelmed with stuff. But so I forgot to take garbage out one day, and that's the kind of shit that I would get in real big trouble from my dad. Like just unnecessarily angry. I don't want to make claims, but the kind of stuff like You know the kind of trouble I'm talking about.
80s discipline.
Yeah, 80s discipline trouble. So so I didn't want to get a whipping. So my mom also covered for me a lot. So she talked to the neighbor. My mom was kind of friends with the neighbor. So my neighbor, she let us hide the garbage in this closet, in the garage, until the next week to put it out for the next week, because the garbage man already came. And this was back when, you could just take it to a dumpster or something. But anyway.
Not really. If you're 16.
Well, so, and I wasn't 16. I'm 12, 11 or 12 or 13. But here's what's the stupid idea about that. I have problems remembering to take garbage out the day of garbage day.
You're not going to remember to get in your neighbor's closet.
It was like this shed area in the garage. Well, I'm telling you, my mom got a call, and like it had rotted. It was rotting, and I remember going over there, was maggots and shit just everywhere. I think it was the first time I saw maggots in person. But anyway, yeah. And I think we got that garbage out, but I just remember that. It was just an idea or a thought that I had.
You had one job.
I had many jobs. I did the dishes, the lawns, pulls, and the weeds. I had a lot of chores, but that was the one that I just would forget, because my parents usually went to work before we had to go to school, because they worked early jobs. So, it was just one of the ones you'd have to just remember to take.
I actually don't remember who took out the garbage. Probably my brother. I mean, as far as like the cans to the street.
That's what I mean. Yeah, the cans to the street. That was that kind of thing. And that was also pre-dump trucks. That was actually a garbage man would come out and, anyway, excuse me. You had wrote down in the show notes the palace. Is that what it's called? The palace?
We don't need to talk about everything we wrote down.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Because you wrote snoring in the notes, and I didn't want to talk about it.
I was going to say, how did you sleep last night?
No, because I was snoring when I got in the bed. I could feel it. It was waking me up. And it usually happens when I lay on my back.
Well, I was like, can you please stop snoring? I was really nice about it.
Well, you shouldn't be. Just let me know.
I used to just kick you.
But I don't typically snore that often,
I know you didn't, not recently, so I was wondering if there was a difference last night, because I don't know, you were snoring a lot.
There was. I was laying on my back. Anyway, yeah. I saw that.
You weren't. You were laying on your side.
Oh, shoot. Well, yeah, I don't know. I had wrote that, I saw it in the show notes. I was like, oh, fuck.
I just was wondering.
Because I knew I snored last night.
I was wondering how you slept. That's all.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into Buck 65, a.k.a. Rich Turf Fry. Tear Fry. I was going to say Chernobyl. No, it doesn't matter.
I'd say Chernobyl.
No, I know. So here's what happened to me as I was preparing for our discussion with Buck 65 today. I started going like, oh my God, there's all these songs that I love. I we got to highlight all of these songs.
Too many.
There's too many. I started writing them down. I'm like, and then I'm initially writing down like the more accessible ones that are probably a little more known from the general public. So I started writing down like 463, Ho Boys, Cold Steel Drum, and they're all coming off of the same album, pretty much. The same 3 albums, and they're the ones that are, I think, on Spotify.
Oh, same 3 albums. I'm like, those aren't on the same.
No, yeah, I mean, these songs, because here's what I started writing down. 463, Ho Boys, Cold Steel Drum, Paper Airplane, 1957.
That's okay.
The Rebel, The Outskirts, Who by Fire with Jen Grant, Bandits, BSC, Roses and Blue Jays, Craftsmanship, Credits, and then Credits with the Controller 7 album. Anyway, so I'm doing that. And I realized, shit, it's just too much. And then the idea when I'm doing these, or I'm like, I want people who haven't heard of him to go check these out. Mm-hmm. But with someone like Buck 65, I think what you'll do is listen to this interview.
I think you could edit in a quick little compilation.
I'm going to. But I'm saying
videos.
I was going through like by year. I still have it in here. I've got in 1967 or 1990s. So he did all that, but I have some of these things, so I'll just do a quick few things. One thing that I would point out, I don't know if it's in his book, but Buck was, he damn near got drafted to the Yankees or picked up by the Yankees. The New York Yankees as a pitcher. He's that good of a pitcher. He was being scouted when he was a teenager, I think around 16 or 17 years old. This is a crazy story, but is it in the book?
I don't remember.
The scout that was scouting him was from the New York Yankees. Buck was, the next year he was supposed to go be doing this training camp with the scout.
Oh, and he died.
The fucking guy had a heart attack.
It was in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is the guy. And you know, I don't know, like people might not know how scouts work, but like the Buck was the scout's guy. So it's not after the guy died, that's pretty much his chance out the window because no one
Yeah, no, it was devastating to him.
Yeah.
It was a part of the heartbreak. I don't know a lot about baseball.
Yeah.
But
that's a big
I know
deal,
it's
man.
it's a passion of his.
Yeah.
Like it's
he still plays. He loves it. That's just a real interesting story to me. But that's good to know that that's in the book. He has one.
I don't think that it says the Yankees. I don't remember.
Well, his style of music, I think what his style is that he does so many different styles. It's definitely hip hop, but he does like he mixes it up and changes it up, and everything about him is fantastic. So I won't go through a bunch. He's got in '98 he has a song came out called "The Centaur," which is probably one of his most popular early songs. That was released with Anacon Records.
Most people are curious, some wanna get dirt on. The centaur, I'm famous, I walk around with no shirt on. The easiest way would be for you to lie face down. I'm a man, but I'm built like a horse from the waist down. People are afraid of me, but act like they love me. Feast your eyes upon my nudity, I am Beauty and the Beast. I have plenty to say, but nobody listens because my cock is so big.
The artist Nick Klein, or I think it's Nick Klein, aka Rekka, he did the cover art for it. One of Buck's first albums that came out was Vertex and the 12-inch for Centaur. This Nick artist did the cover art for all of those. And also this new album, the North American Adonis, that's Buck 65, Dose 1, and Gel from Anacon. Anyway, this guy that did the artwork for that, he's now an illustrator for Marvel. He does the Hulk comics. Like that's a huge deal. Anyway, a few things that I'll mention. Buck did sign with Warner Music. Has a couple albums that came out with the Canada version, Warner Music Canada. They released most of his back catalog of earlier stuff that he did. Vertex is a really, really, really solid album. It's one of his early ones, so be aware of that when you listen to it. And then he's got a couple of songs that won Junos. And Junos are the awards from the Canada Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences.
Isn't that confusing? Don't you feel like Juno Awards would be in Juneau, Alaska?
Well, no, because Juneau, Alaska is spelled differently.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Juno is Juno from the movie Juno. Remember?
Yeah.
That's a Canadian movie, too.
Oh, really? I thought they were in Alaska that whole time.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a Canadian movie. That's Michael Cera's Canadian, and Elliot Page is also Canadian. Also, so is Jason. Yeah, it's a full-on Canadian movie. The Junos. Yeah, so his album Square was nominated for Juno.
Watching an already dead world vanish, we the banished and outlawed wander hither and yonder like dogs gone hungry, funky and angry and sometimes ugly. Drums like drugs have turned us to scavengers, pathfinders, addicts and mathematicians, practitioners of black magic. We make music from used up junk and bad luck dreams.
And then Talkin' Honky Blues won a Juno. Yeah, which is awesome.
Driving with a yellow dog, I-95's got a smile on his face and big shiny eyes. Up at a decent hour, never ate yet. Got a little Johnny Cash in the old tape deck. Nothing in the trunk but some baseball gloves, pair of jumper cables and a set of golf clubs. Blanket on the backseat, we're in rough shape. Sunroof held on with a bit of duct tape. Looking for a gas station, better make a list. Fill her up with...
And then he signed with Virgin Record, a version of Virgin Records with V2. That was to release his music into the United States. I think that's usually why they did that. Maybe. something like that. Shit, I don't know where I was going with that. Okay.
You're just educating us.
Yeah, I'm just educating
his labels.
Was this in his book? He appeared at the Juno Awards with Pam Anderson.
He didn't appear. He hosted them.
Well, that's what I meant. He was in the Juno Awards with.
That's kind of how the book ended.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Right, and you forget that Pam Anderson is Canadian. Like you just completely forget about that.
Yeah, hosting isn't like a schlub job. That's a big job.
It's a huge job, and as we know today, with the controversy with hosting award shows. It's major.
I don't know.
Oh,
that
yeah.
doesn't show up in my news.
No, it doesn't. Well,
I
you
don't
know,
get
one of the
celebrity
major
news.
ones is that Chris Rock got slapped by.
Oh, well, yeah.
So no one wanted to do host jobs anymore. And this Joe Coy, the comedian did. That's everyone mostly knows that. Buck's got an album called Situation that came out in 2007, released on guess which record label? Strange Famous Records. That's right. It's a concept album based on the year 1957.
I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed, devoid of conviction, conflicted, annoyed, kicked at and worn down 666 beat, looking for the next quick fix. Unpopular prophets with problems, up against angels in disguise who want to rob them. They didn't want to end up crushed by God's embrace in the age of the cold.
What else? Oh, in 2008, he released 3 one-track albums called Dirt Bike. It's a three-part series, Dirt Bike series. Those you can only get on Bandcamp. They're really, really, really fucking good.
Rock me, rock me, rock me like you never did before. Lonesome Christmas under the mistletoe. I can't stand to hear that old whistle blow. Trouble in mind, and my chances are very small. More to myself, I love and chant them all.
It's got there's a bunch of guest producers and people giving verses on that from people like Dose One, Apheus, D Styles, Buddy Peace, Mocha Only, and a bunch of other ones. And he made those with the challenge of releasing 3 albums in 3 months. And those are the albums that came out, the Dirt Bike series. They're really, really, really fucking good. I'm a big fan of his group Bike for 3. That was a project that he came out with in 2009 that he did with Belgian producer Greetings from Tuscan. Their debut album is called More Heart Than Brains. That was released on Anacon.
Left to our own devices, preciseness. We made something indestructible, priceless. Lightning is the fury, thunder the obsession. Hours in between and I'm under the impression. When I heard your music, I tried to dance and fell. Advancing well, but I don't have a chance in hell. Enhance, excel, the darkest night I should have been there. But every time I come close, you disappear into thin air.
Yeah, it's just really cool stuff. Also in 2009, he came out. He has a track with Buddy Peace. He's done a lot of stuff with Buddy Peace, but there's a song called Studebaker that he did with Buddy Peace.
Let me start again. I was born on March 4th, torn from the harsh north, large horn of hardcore. My glass is half MC, other half DJ, B-U-C-K. 65 ways, this is what it was meant for. Friends call me rich and lovers call me centaur. I'm famous and anonymous, I'm shameless and I'm bottomless. Ominous, the most uncommon denominator. Dominant, I'm the fade of nice on the mic. 3rd time's a charm, cause twice was a strike.
It's really cool. That's on Bandcamp. Check that out. And then in 2011, he released a 4th Dirt Bike album, and it's part of the series. It's got to be.
Cobra from Nova Scotia wearing a sweater vest. Sister, constrictor, more powerful and better dressed. You'd never guess, she dances to forget her stress. She slithers, she moves like the letter S. Effortless, danger maybe, pleasure yes. Ichidari, pot of gold, treasure chest. Effervescence, beauty and cleverness. We're pressed together, spellbound, forever blessed.
And then right around that same time, he came out with this album, 20 Odd Years. And that was named in honor of his 20th anniversary of being in the music industry, and it's phenomenal. Right, something that's interesting when you're putting together all these albums on your Spotify or in a playlist or something. Before 20 Odd Years came out, he had a series of 4 EPs. They were released digitally and on 7-inch, and the 4 of them were called. The first one was 20 Odd Years, Volume 1, Avant.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second one's 20 Odd Years, Volume 2, Distance. The third one's called 20 Odd Years, Volume 3, Albuquerque. And the fourth one is called 20 Odd Years, Cenotaph. And also on that, there's a cover of Leonard Cohen's cover song, Who by Fire. It's a great song.
Who in these realms of love? Who by something blunt? And who by avalanche? Who by powder? Who for his greed? And who for his hunger? And who...
So check, but you can get all of those on
That's
just
a
20
Leonard
odd
Cohen
years.
song?
Yeah,
I thought Buck wrote that.
Who by Fire.
I'm really sad now.
Well, but it's Buck's version of it. Why do you say you're sad? You don't like Leonard Cohen?
Leonard Cohen's whack.
Oh,
I'm
because
just
that's from a
kidding.
Rap Fiera song. Rap Fiera?
No,
Fairy?
That's Cool AD says it.
Oh, that's right. Cool AD. No, Leonard Cohen's awesome. My favorite Leonard Cohen song is The Butcher. And I ask my son to play it for me all the time on the guitar. Okay. Yeah. So, as I was saying, you can just hear all those songs and plus more on just the 20 odd years album. I guess that's it. Oh, his album. Yeah. So go look him up. Just if you don't, and that's what this is for. If people who don't know of his work, because he's got an album called Never Love that came out in 2014, and that one's really like you can fit. I think it's the one that he did after his divorce.
Been here alone, can't break this heart of stone. Heaviest words upon my spine, my mouth is broken, arms are bound, alarms are sounding, harms around, trouble comes, charms abound, solitary single, phantom limbs a tangle, a feeling in the air tonight, static in the signal, I bite the dust, smash the sky, fight.
And it's really heartbreaking, but not. Some upbeat kind of songs, but when you listen to the lyrics and listen to the writing, it's just a really good album. In 2015, maybe I was talking about the book before anyone even heard me mention what it is. Well, in 2015, he published his book, Wicked and Weird, The Amazing Tales of Buck 65. And that's a book that we're going to end up probably talking about a lot. Well, maybe not. Who knows? All right, we'll get out of here. The newest albums coming from Buck 65 are Super Dope and Punk Rock B-Boy. I believe you can hear both of those on Bandcamp right now, but I think the pre-orders for Punk Rock B-Boy are still being taken. Get his album King of Drums, that came out in 2022. I got that on vinyl.
Okay, this isn't your bragging show, is it?
Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. And then this new project that's out now, North American Adonis.
Your faded major organs in a jar, blood pouring from a portion of your yard. Two hawks having a grackle on the hood of your car. Have you gone too far? Well, past all PSRs out there where birthdays just don't hit that hard. All the bizarre, rotting your concept of par. Every last bar abusing its context. Unusual fondness for all pets.
It's a collaboration between Buck 65, Dose 1, and Gel. Now, this was a discussion that Adrienne and I were having. We're trying to figure out because I knew that this existed for somewhere. I don't know why, but this album just got released this year, and so we were debating like, is this new stuff? Is it old stuff? Well, it's old stuff. What had happened was that they lost all of it. Gel lost due to a workstation, like a crash. But I think he got it back and pieced some of it back together. So it's not that I want to get to him about in the episode. I hope we have time to do it. But yeah, so it's their lo-fi demos recorded with a Radio Shack microphone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a cool album. It's really cool, and a lot of the hardcore fans out there who know way more about shit. I'm certain they're fucking have already been playing it like crazy. The vinyls ship out within the next little bit. So his Bandcamp is a place to find just fantastic everythings. Oh, I do want to just highlight one other thing. He's got these two albums called, they're compilation albums called Sass 1 and 2.
Okay.
And they're from 2013. He calls them albums for people with short attention spans. This is right up my alley. I don't have a short attention span for music, but so the first album, Sass 1, has 14 songs on it, but it's got a running total time of 4 minutes and 23 seconds. And then the second one is quote unquote a bit heftier, It's 16 songs with a total running time of 7 minutes and 13 seconds. So it's just really cool to listen to because they're fully conceptualized songs that are about 30 seconds long, 10 seconds long, 14 seconds long, and so on and so forth.
I wake up in the morning with the weight of the world and the noise, and the swirls and the annoyances. No, I wake up in the morning with your breath on my neck.
It's just really interesting to when you go through his music on Bandcamp to see how his mind operates. If you do it in if you kind of go through them all and listen to them, it's just really cool. It's I don't use the term too often because people throw it around all the time, but genius. But he's got there's a hint of genius in his musical. Do you get what I'm saying there? Does that make sense? I hate to say genius because it sounds so insincere, because the way people are like, oh, it's so genius or that's epic.
You know what he is? He's studious.
Oh.
I think he's very, studious. Isn't that right?
I think that would.
Alexa,
He's
define
brilliant.
Studious. No, not. I mean, I'm not.
Can't do that on this device.
Oh, she's bossy.
Your video device.
Stop.
Just go to the TV and video section.
No, I think he's hardworking. He's not the type. He's not the type to give up or give in if he's got something to do. He'll just do it and do it until it's done. I think.
I think you're probably right.
I'm not saying that he's not. You said brilliant genius, and I said no. I just think he's a hard worker. But
as you listen to the things that he's putting together, no one's doing that.
Oh, I know that.
So it's like avant-garde almost, like it's.
And he's not afraid to mix it up.
That's what I like, and I like that. What I like about his Bandcamp is he's putting it out there. He's not afraid for if something's not a heater, it doesn't matter. It's there. It's good. He made it. It came from nothing and is something. I like when people do that stuff.
You never know what to expect.
Yeah, it's shareable. But I think the best way to find out what we can learn about him is we just have him on the show. So let's stop gabbling and googling. That's mostly 98% of that is me gabbling and googling, and the 2% is Adrienne filling in holes that I leave. I leave vast holes of information. I don't know what I'm saying. Eat your crackers. Here we go. Let's go to let's hear the intro, and we're gonna be right back here on this screen.
Wait, with my favorite writer
of
all time, who can tell a story in 2 minutes. A great story in 2 minutes.
Yeah, and that person is
Buck65, my bestie.
We'll be right back.
This is the DOD45, and this is Dose 1, here to proudly present to you the Centaur, the king of drums, the punk rock b-boy, the North American Adonis, the lion tamer trainer, the Red Alert lost crate raider, the break taker, the hammer to the nail, the Canadian holy grail, the three-way to rocker, the what you say hammer proper. Introducing the world famous, the grand wizard, Richie T. Buck65, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
DOD45.
There we go.
Who could that be?
I don't know.
Such a generic voice.
Okay, well, there's our intro. Welcome to our show, Buck. We appreciate having you on. You're one of our for us and our audience is like one of the number one requested guests.
Come on,
so,
get out of here.
no, really, truthfully. And it was pretty exciting when I was talking with Brad and Mr. Dibbs. When he set it up, I was quite excited to make this go through. So thank you for joining us.
Well, it feels so real. I mean, I've watched so many of these podcasts, and now I'm here. Like, I'm in that room with you guys. I've always wondered, where are you guys positioned? Are you directly across from one another, or what's going on?
She's right behind me.
No, I'm not behind you. I'm to your right.
Oh yeah, she's to the right of me.
Wait, can I see her? And if you move?
Yep. See.
Oh, there. Okay, now I get it. Okay, well, I've always wondered. Mystery solved.
Oh, I was gonna say, I wrote this note down. I'm privy to. This is going off of Dose One's intro. I just got privy to some top secret projects that he's working on. That I guess I shouldn't even have brought that up because I can't share.
That's rude. For the rest of us, that's just rude.
I know. Well, yeah, I guess maybe that's like more of a flex.
Right. Well, yeah. He's always working on stuff. That's one thing.
Yeah.
So not a secret that he's working on stuff, because at any given time, that's true. But I'll say less.
All right. Well, so for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to draw you a picture, and we're going to have a discussion. My picture that I'm going to be drawing for you today is based off of a Buck 65 lyric, half wolf, half crow, half hippopotamus from Surrender to Strangeness, and it's also is a mashup with what you had mentioned. One of your favorite movies is Mad Max Road Warrior.
Yes.
And so even when you brought that up, I watched it yesterday. Was it yesterday I watched it?
2 days ago?
2 days ago, yeah, because I haven't seen it in a long time, and it's so good.
It's so good, and I watched it again recently. It happened to come on TV, and if I see it in the guide, I'm not going to watch it. So if I'm flipping through that and I see, the Road Warriors on channel 280, I'm flipping there immediately.
It's on there.
Yeah.
No, like legit, like it's one of the few movies that I loved as a kid that I still love now, like actually holds up. I shouldn't say that it's one of the few that I still like, but that I can look at now critically and say that's an excellent movie.
There's nothing wrong with it, and the I could go off on, but just like the car, all of the action scenes, the crashes, and all that stuff. I'm wondering, like, did they have professional stuntmen, or was it just a bunch of Aussies out there like fucking blowing shit up and crashing?
I mean, there are stories of it being like not all entirely above board and people getting like hurt and stuff, and like there are shots that made it into the movie where people really got hurt and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as action goes, it holds up. It's one of the best ever. And then the epic chase scene at the end. I mean,
yeah, there are scenes I remember. There were like just shots I remember seeing. Like there's a couple of times when they're ramming the diesel and the car looks like it's just about going to go underneath the tires and
right. That's what I'm talking about. Like that shit is sketchy as hell. Right.
Yeah,
like
and then you got guys on motorcycles, like just no helmets and just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a good one.
Could it be made today? Do you think?
It'll be CGI.
Could it be made the same today? Would they allow?
Right. Probably not. I'm thinking. They wouldn't let you just not have permits and professionals in place and
the unions would not allow that for sure.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
There's a lot of regulations, but maybe you could shoot it in, I don't know, some of the countries that don't really have as much.
Yeah, maybe.
But maybe. I mean, the new Mad Max is pretty cool too, and they have similar kind of like crazy chase scenes, but I think there's a lot of CGI in it.
Yeah, and like the production value on it, like the budgets look like they're so much bigger, and I'm into them. I like those movies, but nothing for me has topped Mad Max 2, even the new ones, and I do love them. And before I heard that Fury Road, that was the last one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Before it came out, I was playing a show in Sydney, Australia, and I think I mentioned something in my set about Mad Max. I have a song called Last of the V8 Interceptors about that movie.
second section of a triptych. Picture blurred, the words are cryptic. More than most, he is a ghost. The scene is post-apocalyptic. Oil burns and people bleed. Boy is broken, girl is humbled. Everywhere you look, there's nothing. Turned to dust, the world has crumbled. Major cities have exploded. Ruined people, scarred and goated.
Maybe I performed that song. And then afterwards, a guy came up to me and he said, there's a new movie coming. I'm in it. He was like an extra, like kind of in the background. And I'm like, holy shit, tell me everything. So I kind of had the scoop that was coming before the rest of the world knew, and I was so excited. And then I don't want to go off here too bad, but I saw last year they auctioned off a bunch of the cars from like all the, the movies.
The originals?
Yeah. And I was thinking, man, that was the one time really where I was thinking, if I was a rich man, like legit, I would. Can you imagine owning like?
No, it'd be great.
Oh my God. Anyway,
any of them. I would love.
Seriously.
I would love. I always forget his name with the mask with the two bodies on the front.
The humongous.
Yeah, I would love that vehicle.
yeah, man. I'd drive around town with a couple guys strapped to the front.
Yeah, I love cars.
Yeah, man.
All right, here we go. Timer start. I'll start drawing for you.
Here we go.
Okay, so the show started out as the discussion about what inspires my artworks, and so I've been asking people, is there a specific person or situation that inspired you to get into doing what you do?
Yeah, in a way. So you'll appreciate this story, Adrienne. When I was a kid, my best friend was this guy named Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Really bonded over a shared love of Spider-Man.
Okay.
And his sister, for my money, and probably anyone in town, the small town where I grew up, would have said the same thing at the same time. His sister, Adrienne, was the most beautiful girl in town. And so there were a few times where I specifically, when I was a little kid, I said to my parents when they were going to go out and they had to hire a babysitter, I would request Adrienne, like, can you ask Adrienne to babysit? And so she babysat me a few times and I was so, in love with her. And then one time she brought her boyfriend with her to babysit. But here's the thing. You would think like, yeah, that would break your heart a little bit. But I was so young that when he showed up, he was just really cool to me too. And what made him extra cool is that he was the DJ at the roller skating rink.
Oh.
And in these days, the roller skating rink was the place.
Yes.
That's where everyone went. That's what everyone did. We're talking like early to mid 80s here. And so that's where like the B-boys went, and B-boy battles happened at the roller skating rink and all that stuff. And he was the DJ. And so of course he was playing hip hop records. And I would go to the roller skating rink in those days and I loved, the music, but I was so kind of mystified by it. And I didn't know what I was hearing in a lot of cases. And I certainly didn't know who the artists were and stuff like that. But then when he was there at my house, I was able to ask him, and I think he appreciated that I was into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
Yeah, and on multiple levels too, like the DJ gets the girl.
Yeah.
Well, it was that.
Man.
First, it was reminding me of, what's that? Adventures in Babysitting.
You're right. Yeah.
Pretty great. You get to request your babysitter too.
Pretty good. And so that was definitely like when I think formative years and kind of where all the seeds were planted. I think back to that roller skating rink. That's where I was really hearing the music for the first time. And this guy who was the DJ in particular, he was a twin. So he and his twin brother were the two main DJs there, and were really worshipped. They were stars.
Of course, twins are cool as already, but then like if they're doing something cool, that's
yeah, man. I mean, the girls would scream and stuff.
Yeah,
and then him kind of giving me an inside track and kind of telling me what the records were and about the artists and stuff like that. And in a lot of ways for me, that's where it started. And so I suppose he would have been like kind of the first figure where I said to myself, shit, that's cool. I want to do that.
Does he? Do you know? Like, do you know anything about him now? Does he have any idea that he's potentially someone that is responsible for? Not responsible, but
maybe. I remember, I kind of gave up on most social media a long time ago, but there was this time when I was on Facebook, and I think I posted something about it. I just kind of posted a little story about the roller skating rink and these twin DJs, and all sorts of people from my old neck of the woods jumped in like, oh yeah, that was so, they mentioned their names because I had kind of forgotten the names, and I'm trying to remember if I maybe even heard from him, the old boyfriend or his brother. I may have. So I think if it wasn't a direct conversation between the two of us, other people kind of facilitated, that connection again. So I believe so.
That kind of stuff excites me. Speaking of,
the important part is that you remembered Adrienne's name.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she was important. I mean, I still can remember one night when she was babysitting. I still remember the shirt she was wearing, sort of this
that's
yellow mesh shirt, indelible.
She definitely had an impact.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Speaking of writing stories and stuff, I had just yesterday discovered Vertices.
Oh.
Yeah, we joined. We pledged because I started reading the most recent one, a motivating plan named Saturdays.
I saw you liked it.
Yeah, I loved it, this episode's about you, but I do just want to say this. I got really excited when I was reading it because the opening part about your niece's situation on the hockey team.
Yeah.
We have a nearly identical situation with our nieces who play for the women's Samoan soccer team.
Oh, wow.
They're currently in Samoa right now, going to be playing for, if they win their games, they'll end up playing in Paris in the Olympics.
No way.
Everything you were describing about it was just exactly the same. Like, we get links sent from my sister-in-law to watch their games over in the islands, and I don't know. It was just, and they're like the stars of the team. I don't know. That stuff's just kind of cool, and they're also the youngest on the team. So, but when you were writing that, I was just connecting with it so well, and I was realizing one of Adrienne's favorite books is your Wicked and Weird book. It came out in 2015, but I really appreciate the way you write and how you tell a story, and it connects really well. So I don't know.
Well, I'm glad it does. I would have to. Well, I mean, two things I could say to that. I really kind of came from a family of people who were really good at telling like jokes and stories. And when the family would get together, it was always that person that was sort of the center of attention and, kind of getting all the laughs and stuff like that. So that was influential for me, but also that experience of writing the book and working with an editor, I really learned a lot. So this woman named Lynn, who was my editor, I certainly give her a lot of credit. I, really learned a lot about writing from her because that's not what I studied in school. So I don't have any, training as a writer at all.
You can't tell. It's really right at the beginning, you just get sucked in and you can't stop.
Oh,
I started to look for some things yesterday for his Sophie's Choices, because you mentioned something about your grandpa's records. I remember. I thought, oh, maybe I can just skim it.
Yeah, right.
I just started. I'm like, no, I can't skim this. This is not skimmable. You I just started reading and reading and reading again.
And that was the main thing I was going for. That's what I wanted, just like a book that had good forward momentum. So I really appreciate you saying that.
Well, that's great. My only hang up, and I'm going to tell it to you, is that you didn't do an audio version, because I
wanted to.
He'll never hear it. He'll never read it.
Well,
so many people will.
Preface that though, because I can't. I really cannot read.
You can't pay attention to.
I can't pay attention to a book. I've tried so many, especially that's funny. I say that. Well, that's what I love about the Vertices too. For my short attention span, I've read. I could read that. I can stay there, but Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
No, I get it.
Both of you
Lots
know
and
that.
lots of people are the same way. And I wanted to do an audiobook. I guess just wasn't in the budget, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I also, that's funny you say that because I just looked over here. Even though I don't read, Adrienne still gets me books. She got me this book that
Tarantino
I
book.
just
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's a great book.
I remember you see it. You wrote, yeah, you posting about that.
Hey, we have a visitor.
Oh, should we do that? Should we do that before we finish into
Should I let him in?
Yeah, let's.
We haven't even. I feel like we haven't even started.
We haven't really. This is
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
It says we have pericrinkle dibstaculosis.
Pericrinkle dibstaculosis.
Oh no. I can feel it coming.
Give it up, Mr. Dibbs on the turntable.
Listen to more of this.
No.
Mr. Pericrinkle dibstaculus.
Hey,
Hey.
look at that dude.
Look at that guy right there.
Bonjour, Ricardo. ¿Cómo se va?
Yeah, ça va bien. Look, we have similar looking rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Room full of
Actually,
records.
Who do you think's got more? Who do you think's got more?
That dude.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, Rich got way more than me. I got a normal question just because I don't think we've ever talked about it.
Uh-oh.
Best no-hitter ever pitched.
Well, first I'll say that I have been to a lot of games in person, and I almost saw one. I saw a no-hitter get taken into the ninth with 2 outs. It was Brandon Morrow pitching for the Blue Jays in, I want to say 2009 or something like that, against the Rays, and it was broken up, I'm pretty sure, by Evan Longoria with a little just squibber to second base where the call could have gone either way, base hit or error, and they gave him a hit on it. And I didn't watch. I had my face in my hat at the time. I was so stressed. But that's probably the best performance I've ever seen live. But in terms of best no-hitter ever, in my memory or my knowledge of baseball history, I'd have to go with that Kerry Wood one for the Cubs back in the 90s, where it was I'm pretty sure it was a no-hitter also, but he struck out like 21 guys. Yeah, and so they basically say it was like the most dominant pitching performance ever. And you watch the video of it, and it's just, you could tell he was on a whole other planet. And I've heard the story, and it seems like a weirdly common one on those days where someone goes out and just makes history with no-hitter, perfect game, striking out 20 or whatever. They'll say, oh yeah, I was warming up doing my bullpen before the game and it stunk, and I thought, oh my god, I'm gonna get pounded today. It's always those days where you think you don't have it, and I'm pretty sure I remember hearing that was the case with that one. But that was that for me, that was the greatest. Not only a no-hitter, but striking out 21 of the guys like while you're at it is basically untouchable. You
ever pitch a no-hitter, Rich?
No, I don't think I ever did, but I pitched a lot in the in nationals here in Canada not this past summer, but the summer before, and that was probably the biggest test I ever had as a pitcher because I had to pitch every day, and I only gave up 1 hit all week.
Oh, they changed that rule. Like you only have 15 or 20 seconds between pitches now?
Yeah, we didn't have that rule at the time, thank goodness, because
Don't think you could do it?
I don't think I could do it. And this is something you and I have talked about before. I need to kind of work slow to be effective.
When they made it where the pitches have to come faster, it's cool if you're watching the game, but if I'm catching the game, that doesn't give me enough time to talk shit to the batter and get under his skin while I'm telling you what pitch we're going with.
Yeah.
And, I was pretty nasty to batters. Like anything went. Nothing limits.
Hey, are they implementing that rule in all levels of baseball, or only in the
I think it started in the minor leagues before it came to the major leagues. So pretty much. So. For professional baseball,
they're going to implement the Doc Ellis no-hitter rule. So
that you have to be
tripping on acid.
That's a good rule.
I think that might be the best no-hitter, Rich, because he probably doesn't remember it at all.
Hey, did you guys hear anything about, I heard a rumor recently that they're going to do like a version of the Olympics that's all drugs soon. What? Yeah. And I remember seeing a skit about that on Saturday Night Live when I was a kid, but apparently they're going to do it for real, where it's basically going to be all the same events, but they let everyone do all the drugs they want. And apparently this is happening for soon. Yeah. I mean,
people do like all the testosterone, all that stuff.
Steroids, yeah, whatever.
I thought you were talking about like mushrooms.
Oh, I mean, I would assume that that's all on limits.
I mean, so then there's another question, Rich. If you had to do drugs to be in the drug Olympics and pitch, what drugs would you combine to pitch the perfect game?
Well, do you remember a few years back, there was this woman, professional tennis player, I think Sharapova. She was kind of more famous for like her looks than her tennis playing ability.
Yeah. I remember.
It was pretty. Yeah. And she got banned because she used a banned substance. And this particular drug was one that allowed you to recover quicker. That was always my problem, is that I'd pitch a game and then I'd just be in agony for, usually 6 days. And so just when I'm feeling good again, I'd have to go back out there and kill myself.
Yeah, well, you also throw really, really hard.
Yeah, I have to throw as hard as I possibly can to throw accurately. So I'm always kind of 100%.
For anybody that doesn't know, it's horrifying when he throws a ball to you, especially if you're catching him, or if you watch him throw at something, it's surgical. From 50 yards away, he can hit like the head of a pin. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's scary.
Yeah, but if I tried to hit a target by just kind of tossing lightly, I could never do it. And anyway, that would be probably my drug of choice, the one that would let me get back out there a little quicker. I remember what you were just saying, Brad, reminded me when I was a kid. I had this moment of glory in my town because we would have like the volunteer fire department would have a fair every year. And so, it'd be a fairground where there'd be all sorts of games and there'd be a dunk tank. And I was the guy who would dunk everybody because I could throw the ball through that little hole. Yeah. And so sometimes if someone was like lingering up on the platform for too long, they'd call me at home like, you got to come down here and get rid of this guy for us. And then at the end of the fair, they would have a big prize for the person who dunked the most people. Which was me. But I remember at one point there was one guy I was struggling with a little bit, and my uncle, who was living with us at the time, Shady, he pulled me aside and he just sort of like gave me this quick bit of coaching. He's like, remember your mechanics and just throw as hard as you can. And that's what kind of solidified it in my mind. Like, that's the key. Like, you just gotta bring it. And so it really sunk in that, for me to hit that target every time, I just got to completely, unload. And in the old days, when I was in my teens, I had terrible coaches. Now like a big leaguer, if you get up to 100 pitches, they pull you out of the game. But I'd be pitching 250, pitches and stuff like that. And they killed me. I probably could have gone much further in baseball if it wasn't for that. They just destroyed me back then.
Yeah, I remember the batting cage thing when you threw the ball, 3 balls in a row back through that hole.
Yeah, because it got jammed. The machine got jammed.
And I remember staring at you, picked it up, and I'm like, he's holding the ball, and I'm like, it's cute, but it's not going to happen. And the ball, he threw the 1, 2, 3, and I just stood there like, fuck just happened?
Returning the ball through the hole.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a little bit bigger than the ball. It's not like this big giant thing. And like, everybody else there that came down from Canada with him were like, yeah. Like, it was totally normal for him to do that. Like,
right.
One time I was at a Reds game and I caught one of these.
Oh shit, really?
No, but it is real.
Oh, that's Pete Rose, right?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, I recognize his autograph. Holy shit. I have
So-
a nice little collection, but they're upstairs and not within arm's reach.
This one says, Brad, your wife rules. Her grandma cleaned all the Reds' houses.
Wow, really?
So Laura grew up not knowing that, like, playing in the dugout with Dave Concepcion's kid was a big deal. It was just like little Dave.
Right.
And she didn't realize that all these dads were like super famous till years later.
Right, yeah. I met a guy from Montreal a few years ago, and he blew my mind when he told me that his mom was a hairdresser in Montreal and used to give Gary Carter his perms.
No, I thought it was natural. I thought that was natural.
Nah, man, perm all the way. If you look at like his rookie card, his hair is just like straight. Like
Yeah, but so he did it on purpose. That's the weird part. I get this perm for the game. Maybe it became like, superstition. Baseball players have all these superstitions. Rich, which sock goes on first for you?
Oh, left every single time. Yeah.
Mine goes right sock, right shoe, left sock, left shoe.
How does that manifest itself?
You lose if you don't do it right. You lose the game if you didn't do it right.
Yeah, that's it. Or if you're playing well, you don't want to change anything or mess anything up, so you keep it going. So for me, it was left sock on first and off last. So
if you ever watch like I can only speak on the baseball player part, but in general, if you watch an athlete watch a game like on TV, if their team's doing good, they'll freeze and they won't move, and like you might be sitting there like this for 40 minutes because while you're like this, they're doing good, and the minute you move, something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody else is running around, and Rich is sitting in the corner like, can't fucking move. You're stuck.
You're almost afraid to breathe even.
Don't want to jinx the game.
Yeah. I've been convinced that there were times where, someone had a no-hitter going and then they lost it. And it was my fault because I walked out of the room or something.
It was. Last night it was my fault. Detroit lost, apparently.
Yeah, right. Let's be real, though. You might have had a hand in that loss, but everyone today is talking about how there was that shot at Eminem giving everyone the finger when they were up big. And then after that,
he jinxed it.
It went right down the shitter right after he did that. He got cocky.
Come on, Rich.
Well, I still think it's your fault, though.
Well, I can shoulder my part of the blame. You play that clip of that dude dropping that ball in the end zone. You tell me that's not a drop. He didn't drop that on purpose.
I don't understand. There was 5 very specific drops that made zero sense to me.
I'm saying
somehow he knew that you lingered in the other room for 6 minutes.
That's what he was doing. He was trying to teach rattle.
Fucking Dibbs. I'll show him. For messing with the program. You don't mess with it.
Is that narcissistic?
Yes.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Adrienne, someone's got to be the GOAT,
Was that your official question?
I think so.
Yeah, that's good.
I just thought of some baseball stuff. I could have done one like you do, like Sandy Koufax, Nolan Ryan, or Ryan Reynolds.
You stole mine. Yeah, because I was going to say, who's a better Canadian representative, Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling?
Yeah.
I didn't know either one was Canadian, so they're
both
failing.
Well, Ryan Reynolds really seems to wear, the Canadian flag on his sleeve more. He does a lot of charity work up here, and not just in his hometown, but all across the country. Seems to make mention of it more often. Just seems to wear his pride more. So I'd give it to him on that one.
But who's more handsome?
Hey, you ever seen Ryan Reynolds in Waiting with his shirt off?
Oh, yes.
Well, you haven't lived. That dude is a brick shit house. He's gorgeous.
Yeah, but Ryan Gosling in that motorcycle, in the dirt bike movie, I can't remember.
No, Gosling looks like a cricket.
I like that motorcycle movie, though. I just watched that recently, too. What's that called again?
I can't remember, but he dies
You guys are talking about Drive.
No, it's not
Drive's
Drive.
great, too.
That's not motorcycles, though.
No, he rides a dirt bike in this movie. He's like I lack of a better term, like trailer park dude.
In the Pines, I think it's called, isn't it? Something like
what
that.
is it?
In the Pines?
Something like that. Yeah,
think
it's
that
a
might
weird kind of good movie, but yeah, again, spoiler alert, but he dies like within the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Oh, boo.
Yeah.
That's great. Did Drew Barrymore die in the first 5 minutes of that movie too? Yes.
Yeah, with Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal is just fun to watch no matter what he's doing. It's just, I want to be like that dude in 15 years. Fake kung fu and a painted on beard and all that weird shit, just looking greasy all the time, looking like a big blob. Just,
Yeah.
I'm in. Yeah, I think that was my question.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Hey, Adrienne, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are
Good.
you?
How's the interview going?
It's going good.
Okay.
We haven't
Having
gotten
fun?
anywhere.
You haven't, that's it? Nothing's happened?
We were talking about
We're just
other
hanging.
legendary Adrians earlier.
Yeah.
Like movie Adrians? Like Adrienne Barbeau?
No, my babysitter when I was a kid.
Yeah, no.
Oh, Adrienne, your babysitter. I went to school with a girl named Adrienne that could beat the brakes off of any dude in my 6th grade class, and she did a lot. Just not me. All right, cool.
Okay.
Hi.
Rich,
Thank
good
you.
talking
Yeah,
to you.
Brad.
Love
Great
you
to
guys.
see you, man. Love you.
All right, somebody hang up on me. That's you, Adrienne. Go.
Okay,
Okay.
gotcha.
Peace.
Real quick, I'll give you guys one of my favorite Brad stories. Might have been right around the same time being in Cincinnati for Scribble Jam. And one night late, maybe after one of the shows or something like that, there's a group of us and we went out to eat. And we're all ordering. I think we were at a White Castle. And so, one by one, we all go up to order, and Brad kind of keeps hanging back a little bit and is delaying going up to place his order. It looks, he's kind of being a little shifty about it, waiting for the right moment kind of to go up and order. And I was kind of keying into this, like something's going on. So I'm going to give him space, but I'm going to really like kind of keep my ear open. I want to like, what's going on here? And so he finally goes up to the counter and he says something like, yeah, can I get 25 burgers with no buns? Something like that. He just ate like just a shit ton of patties. That was it. And like, this is probably like,
it wasn't a bit. He just wanted 25.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
his, not keto. What did they used to call keto?
Atkins.
Yeah, he was on the
thing.
Atkins.
It was the early days of the Atkins thing that he was doing. And, he had some shame about it because it was just so weird or whatever. And I was trying to secretly order just this ton of meat that he could just go and quietly eat on his own somewhere. I'll never forget it.
That's awesome.
I can understand that. I'll do that if we're like with a group and I don't want to be, because I don't eat dairy, but I don't want to make it like a thing.
Yeah.
I'll just be like, hey, there's no cheese on that one, please.
Right. Yeah. I get it because people will give you a hard time.
They're like, what? Oh, we can't order that appetizer.
And I'm a
'Cause it has
loudmouth too. And I'm
cheese.
like, oh, because she's vegan.
But I'm not.
I know you're not, but
you
I'm an idiot.
You do say that.
I was roommates for years with this guy who never ate cheese. And I'm like, I've seen you eat other dairy products, but just never cheese. So I know it's not like an allergy. What's going on there? And he said, well, I guess it's time I told you the truth. When I was a kid, my brother would terrorize me anytime I was going around like not wearing a shirt, and he would stick like a Kraft single to my back. And I wouldn't know it was there like until way later. And it scarred him.
That scarred him
Oh my
for
God.
life.
I think we
And
may
then-
have shared the same brother, that guy.
Yeah, see. And then years later, when I was kind of coming up in the Halifax scene, the kind of early days of my, music career, I would get a lot of gigs kind of like in the skate community
Mhm.
because like, they were either building or adding to like the skate park and they would need to raise money. And so they would have guys come out and, play shows, but because they were trying to raise money, they couldn't pay us. But one of the main kind of OG skater guys in Halifax was a great cook. And so the deal was come play the show and Pete will make you a meal. And he is now a famous chef, this guy, Pete, here in Canada. He might even be kind of world renowned. And so he would come to my house and he'd offer to make, the greatest meal you ever had in your life. but it could never be any cheese because Graham was my roommate.
Oh yeah.
And so he, he's like, oh, we can do this and that and that. And then Graham would be like, no cheese though. And he'd be like,
Yeah.
He was
And he would
cock-blocking your experience.
yeah. And it just like diminished the experience by like 80% every time.
Oh, and cheese is the greatest.
Yeah.
It is.
I love it. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, you know what though? I mentioned we were talking about vertices earlier, and so you might have saw there in the post that I was mentioning something about, I had this like sort of false alarm with like this little health thing.
Yeah.
And that situation was triggered by some recent, blood work after a checkup that I had where I was informed that my cholesterol was high.
Oh.
And so I'm just living the worst existence right now because when you look at like, okay, what is high in cholesterol? It's all the good shit.
Yeah.
I can't eat anything right now. I'm eating like oats and, tofu and kale.
Yeah.
about all
I
I
had that at, what did you say? How old was I? You're 35?
Mm-hmm.
35. A doctor called me on a Sunday.
Oh,
and
shit.
said- yeah.
Yeah.
After my blood work. And he said,
that's not good.
Yeah, you're in danger of having a stroke or a heart attack.
Right.
And there was, just cholesterol. My blood pressure's always been good. But so I
Same.
lost, I think I lost like 60 pounds in 2 months by doing just that. You start looking at, oh, fuck, this, all the, and what I discovered is it's the saturated fats really that get you more than just the cholesterols. But
Right.
it is, you definitely start feeling a little better, but that's crazy. You would never know with me, because with me, it all shows up on my body.
I mean, it really surprised me, and there's not really like a history of that in my, family or anything. So, it came as a little bit of a surprise, even though I've always really liked cookies. So maybe it's just too many cookies or something like that.
No, I mean, there's not that much in cookies.
Yeah, I know.
The bummer is it's,
maybe
it's
oil.
In, it's in stuff like the cheeses and the oils, all the really delicious stuff.
But olive oil has the good
Yes.
fat.
Yeah. So I'm finding ways now, like, well, if you use olive oil instead of butter to make this, then that's better. So, I mean, I think I'm fast tracking, getting to where I need to be. And it's not as bad as it was the first few days because I thought, oh my God, I can't eat anything, and now I'm realizing. And after a couple days, you kind of get over cravings that you have for certain things as well. So it's not
Usually
so bad.
takes right about a week. Yeah, the good news is I'm imagining it's a reversible from where you're at right now.
Yeah.
Like you can make that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. That's where if you start feeling a little bit better than knowing that you can, but it is a bummer when you first get that news.
Yeah.
Hey, what about Primus Frizzle Fry or Ice Cube's Friday?
Oh, I'm gonna say Friday because it's pretty fresh in memory. That's another movie that I hadn't seen in a long time. It came on recently. I think I saw it in the theater when it first came out, and I was reminded all over again of how fun that movie is. It's great. It's great. Yeah. And Primus, I was never super hardcore Primus guy, but definitely an appreciator. And I think I used to do a little routine in my live shows to, what's that song called? My Name is Mud.
My Name is Mud. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I ridiculous bass line in that, in that song. So I used to do a thing where I'd loop that up and blah, blah, but yeah, Friday, man, Friday.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
What about, can you do the splits?
What?
Oh, geez.
That's a random question.
I know it is. But you know what's funny? I was working out a couple of days ago, and I was like, I just, when you're doing things, you're just running through things, and I just thought, I was trying to think of like, what sort of things will I ask Rich? And I don't know. I was just like, can you do the splits?
I wonder.
It's a stretch, and my hips don't open up wide enough for some reason. I was like,
I mean, from baseball, I do have decent flexibility with certain things, and like my hips, I tested it recently. Like, oh, I'm doing really good with the hips. But it does remind me of a joke I used to tell where a guy goes running into a gym frantic, and he finds a trainer in there, and he says, can you teach me how to do the splits? I need to be able to do the splits. Anyway, the trainer says, are you flexible? And the guy says, well, I can't do Wednesdays. Anyway. But if I tried right now, I'm guessing no. I'm guessing I probably could not. That's always a skill that I've been in awe of, though, when people can.
Yeah.
And just this morning, I saw a video, probably just on Instagram, of something of a woman doing a backflip and landing in a
I don't
split.
get that. I don't understand how people are doing that shit.
Man, oh man. I mean, that's another level. And it just seems like, isn't impact a little uncomfortable?
Yeah, it seems bad. It seems great. That doesn't seem possible.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a good skill to have. And there's certain things like that I regret not, like if you had an ability at one point in particular, if you were young and then you didn't maintain it, like a certain level of flexibility or whatever. And young people, like babies and stuff, I don't know, like I've done this with like my nieces and stuff when they were babies. You just take their legs and you can stretch them out. Like, obviously they're not
Swing 'em
stiff.
around.
They're a baby. They're like
Right.
ultra flexible.
Their bones are soft.
I was
too.
thinking like, yeah, if this was my kid, I would just keep doing that every day until they were 25.
Stretching them out like a like a toy.
You guys remember that little Hercules kid? Wasn't that what he was called?
Yeah. The buff kid, little Hercules.
Yeah, and like a little kid, like built like a bodybuilder,
Yeah.
basically.
they
right?
call
Yeah,
them-
yeah.
Maybe they call them little barbarian, little cone. Oh, I don't know, but yeah,
I think I
wonder
know
what
just who
he's
you mean, though. Yeah,
That's what you would have done with your kid.
yeah.
This
With
does not
baseball.
seem healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, do catchers? I mean, I probably know the answer to this, but do catchers usually have like knee problems as they get older?
Yeah, I think so. Once in a while, you'll get a guy who's just a freak, and maybe that's, why they were kind of ideal to be a catcher, where they just don't seem to have those knee problems because, I was playing like pretty high level competitive baseball up until recently. And I would ask my catcher from time to time, I was like, aren't your knees killing you? You play 3 games in a weekend or something. I wouldn't be able to walk. It's like, oh, no, I'm good. But yeah, I mean, my knees are shot, and I used to catch a little bit when I was a kid. I think that's partly why. Also, basketball kind of killed me. But it's definitely true that most baseball players are really flexible, and a lot of times you'll see, if you go out to a big league game and you get there early enough to watch guys kind of working out and stretching on the field before the game, a lot of those guys can do the splits.
Yeah.
But I'm old. I lost it. I wish.
Well, why? That doesn't make sense. Is the catcher the umpire guy?
No, well, he's right
Or is he
behind
on the diamonds?
He's behind. The pitcher throws the ball.
the catcher.
The catcher is on the diamonds. So why does that hurt your knees?
The home base? No, the
He's
catcher.
crouched down. He's crouched. He's in a crouch position the whole game.
Yeah, he's crouched.
Oh, he's like the umpire guy behind the
umpire's
baseball guy?
behind him.
Yeah,
Oh,
umpire's right behind him. But they're both kind of crouched.
Okay.
I imagine the umpires have back problems.
You would think.
Yeah.
You would think.
Did you ever? I used to watch Real Sports a lot, and I remember watching this guy. He had this whole pitching philosophy, and the guys were throwing really bizarre, but it was to protect their arms. Did you ever see that, or ever know anything about that? And what is your feeling about that kind of?
Well, I had to end up kind of going a little down a bizarre route myself, because as I was mentioning earlier when we were talking to Brad, I would have coaches run me out there all day long. When I was a kid, I'd be throwing 250 pitches, where now they kind of know conventional wisdom. You don't let someone throw more than 100 because you're doing damage to yourself. And so from my young days, I wrecked my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got back into it again, however many years back, I kind of had to figure out, like, man, this is a problem. I went to physio, I did all sorts of stuff, and I had some improvement, but I wasn't where I needed to be. So I had to figure out a new way to throw, basically, to be effective. And I would just tinker with it. And, normally you'd start like when you're throwing with your arm position way up here, I had to just drop it way down and take pressure off my shoulder. But it really worked for me because it just added all sorts of like funk and deception to my pitches or whatever. But yeah, I had to find a whole new way to do it. I basically had to learn it all over again. So proper throwing mechanics do look really bizarre because you're taught to use your kind of torso almost more than like your shoulder. And so you're really kind of like thrusting yourself, your whole torso forward like that. But I can remember the guy that scouted me when I was young, who was like a kind of a big time scout who like worked for the Yankees and stuff, said that, throwing is not something that the human body was really meant to do. And so, it took a long time and a lot of research and science, which improves as time goes on, to realize like, okay, here's the optimal way to do this unnatural thing to minimize your chances of being injured.
Yeah.
But I mean, now you're hearing stories all the time of like a 14-year-old kid having to go get Tommy John surgery or whatever because he like destroyed a ligament in his elbow or something. So, I mean, it's bad. I know they're trying really hard to, make it better, but they're putting such a premium on velocity. They want everyone to throw 100 miles an hour. That's really not natural. So yeah, man, everyone's just like way too many injuries these days.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Well, I mean, like you said, I guess they are trying to figure out
But there's a lot of pressure on kids to like do better than other, like the people before them.
There really is. And I mean, sometimes, parents be putting pressure on the kids and coaches. And it used to be, when I was a kid, it's like, okay, the best thing you can do is play a whole bunch of different sports because, basketball will help you develop these muscles and you'll learn these sorts of reflexes. And if you do this will help you in baseball as well. And now they don't do that anymore. It's like you got to pick one sport and really focus on it and play it year round. And that can be really,
our close
damaging.
friend's daughter is in cheerleading, and I swear to God, they're fucking every day. There's like some major cheerleading event, cheerleading camp, like it's just a constant multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It was not like that when I was a kid.
I wonder if it's a lot of it is about kids or parents wanting their kids to well, I don't know. The psychology of that, I always feel like the parents who are the most heated are the ones who probably their youth they didn't end up making it as far as they thought they were, and so they put it all on their kids.
They're living vicariously through their kids and stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Do large crowds make you feel alone or connected?
I would probably tend more toward the alone side of things, and I don't particularly like a big crowd. I make this weird complaint all the time being in Toronto where I live now. Obviously the Blue Jays are here. And when I first moved to Toronto in 2008, they stunk. And I would always buy tickets if another bad team was coming to town because you could go and there'd be nobody there. You could just have a whole section to yourself and relax. I remember one game, probably 2008 or 2009, they were playing the Astros, who also stunk at the time. And I went home with like 10 balls. There was no one there to, you could just walk over and pick it up, take your time.
I'll go get that one in a little bit. Yeah,
I'll go. Maybe later I'll go grab that one. And now, like, they've been quite good since like the mid, 20 teens, and practically every game is sold out, and it's a drag. And you're sitting like this, and like you can't eat nachos when you're all scrunched up like that and stuff. And so it's a bit of a drag, and it's also just stressful in a way. And then of course, playing live. I mean, I toured for a long time, and you're, dealing with a crowd every night. And I would explain to people, well, I'm a pretty introverted person. Like, well, how do you explain that when you're getting up in front of a crowd of people every night? It's like, well, when you're up there on stage, though, you are alone. And there is that feeling that you just mentioned where sometimes put in that situation, funny enough, you do feel more alone than connected, which in a strange way, when I guess you have to perform, that can be kind of a good thing.
Yeah. Hey, let's play. We got a Sage's social media lurk.
Uh-oh.
Brought to you by Strange Famous Records.
Yeah, let's do this.
Hey, Rich. Oh, wait. Hey, Adrienne. Hey, Ty. Hey, DOD45. What's up, Buck 65? I can't really lurk your social media. That's not so easy. But I've known you so long, I kind of feel like I wanted to delve into older emails, and they only go back to 2007. And before that, I was using AOL and Hotmail, and I can't even access those accounts anymore. I do remember the first time I emailed you was in the late 90s when your mother passed away, and we didn't know each other yet. I was a new fan of yours, and I felt connected to your music and to you, and I just sent you a message letting you know how sorry I was, and probably, I don't know, it was a short email. I didn't get a response, and I didn't expect a response, but when we eventually connected, that was very exciting for me, and I'm very proud of all the stuff we've gotten to do over the years. I know we've, even browsing through the emails down to 2007, it's a lot of turmoil. There's been a lot of stuff that we've both dealt with. It's not an easy lifestyle that we've picked. And the path has been twisty and windy, and I'm happy you're still here. I'm very happy about that. So I do have a question for you. Thinking about all this stuff, all these tours that we've done, some that we don't even remember, you or I. There will be a picture, and it'll be with both of us in it, with a van, and I'll remember, oh yeah, we toured that part of Europe with these people I don't even think I know anymore. That's wild. But one of the tours we did, we were sharing a room, which was unique. That I typically get my own room. I think you do too. But for whatever reason, we were sharing a room, and you brought up the fact that poop particles fly around in the bathroom and get on toothbrushes. And it was very upsetting to you and to me, but I blocked it out of my memory. I was like, oh, that can't be real. It's probably right, but I'm not going to think about that. And then years later, I kept coming across that information online, and people were talking about how you can suppress it by, when you flush the toilet, make sure the lid is down. But then I eventually saw some study where they said that doesn't even really matter. You can't even prevent it. It's just going to happen. And now that I'm living in a house with 3 kids, I feel like probably my whole attire, my beard, everything is just poop particles at this point. And I've accepted it. I'm not going to fret. It hasn't given me pink eye yet. I'm the only one in the family to not get it. I'm a superhero. So what inevitability have you finally come to accept, if any? But one of those things that used to bug you, but then you're like, you know what? Ain't shit you can do about it. Move on. Love y'all. Be good. Strange Famous out.
Thanks, Sage. That's a good question.
It is a good one.
This question was, what things have you just accept? What do you accept?
I have a pretty heavy answer to that, actually.
Oh.
So I studied biology in university. And there was this one instructor I had for a couple of courses. One being, what was it called? Invertebrate morphology, I think. And so this guy's name was Dr. Rand. And he was excellent. And he was at the top of his field of, particular expertise, but kind of brutal as a teacher because so many notes, and just your arm was killing you every class because there was so many notes. And so there was this one period of a week or two where he was away to attend a big conference. And it was a global conference where scientists from around the world would get together and discuss unpublished work. Mm. And when he came back to class, the first thing he said was, okay, what do you want to do? You want to pick up where we left off with the notes, or do you want to hear about my trip? And everyone felt the same way, like, oh my God, the notes, anything to, not have to take more notes. So, everyone's, oh, we'd love to hear about the trip. And this is bonkers. I haven't mentioned this too many times because it just feels too heavy. But I'm telling you, this man told us that at this conference, he learned, this is going to sound crazy. I'm just telling you what he said.
Sure.
That, this group of scientists concluded that after years of genetic manipulation in efforts to get bigger yields of corn, because, they're always trying to, grow more and grow it bigger and so on and so forth. He said that those efforts over time altered the actual DNA of corn. And he said it's basically not, he didn't say it's not safe to eat. He said it's carcinogenic because the DNA, I mean, there's plenty of things that we don't eat because the DNA isn't right. You can't bring that into your body. And he basically said, the conclusion was that, the altered DNA of corn makes it not, safe to eat. And he said, this study will never be published because the consequences of publishing such a thing would be catastrophic, to the point where he said even the global economy would be at risk of collapsing. And so the scientific community all had to look at each other and basically say, we just have to keep this to ourselves, unfortunately, and we have to live with this information. And so he said, when you take a job like mine, you basically take an oath that you won't say anything to your students that might alter the way they choose to live their lives. You're not supposed to do that. But he said, I almost feel this burden to share this information with you, and you will do what you choose with it. But he said, I just feel, you could tell that he was really affected by hearing this. And so for a long time, I avoided corn and, or did my best to avoid corn. And then what I found over time is that, like so many other things, it's almost impossible to avoid corn, because in one way or another, it appears in so many things.
Especially in North America.
And so I basically said, you know what? Corn's probably not the only thing that's killing me.
Yeah.
And
that's
so,
one of the ones.
Eventually enough time passed where I said, the hell with it. I miss this, that, and the other thing. And, I eat all these things with, corn and corn products and corn itself all the time, like everybody else does. But once in a while, that still plays in the back of my mind. Like, holy shit, man. Like,
the dark part of that, or this is that's just one thing that they know about.
The good news, really good news. There's more than one variety of corn. And so I'm guessing he's talking about, or was talking about, these massive fields that we drive by for feed, corn syrup, meal, just things that don't end up necessarily in human consumption, except for the sugars, I guess. But there are heirloom varieties and different varieties. So, but I think a lot about corn and how it's grown.
And you would think that if that knowledge is out there, even if you can't publish it because of the panic it would cause, that people would still take responsible steps to say, look, we can't be doing this to people. Let's, maybe there's certain strains that we phase out and stuff like that, because it's hard to imagine. Yeah.
It's not going to happen because Monsanto owns the corn. They sell genetically modified sterile corn. So the farmer can't even save the seed. They have to rebuy new corn that is Roundup ready for all those, pesticides and herbicides to get sprayed up on it. They're kind of blacklisted. They've been put in a really hard position.
Yeah. Well, we all, I know.
It's scary to think about. And like you said, Ty, who knows what other information that is, being kept just from like the general population for a variety of reasons. I mean, I can't imagine. And I don't know how much you guys have been paying attention to this, but one of the hot topics lately is all this like UAP stuff, extraterrestrials.
We just saw that one.
Yeah.
Jellyfish one.
Did you see the jellyfish one?
Yeah, man.
That's wild.
It's wild. And, there seems to be this growing momentum toward this whole idea that people are talking about of disclosure. Like at some point, maybe in the not too distant future, some of that information might finally be shared. And it's crazy to think of what the consequences of that could be. Yeah. But that said, I'm sure there are just so many secrets that we'll never know.
And yeah, a lot of them for the sake of scare, like the movies always say, you can't scare the public.
Right. Yeah, that's
We've seen
it.
so much these days now. We could probably take it now.
Yeah, right. I mean, it is scary to think of like what a widespread panic would actually mean, and we've seen it in the movies and stuff like that. But I mean, Jesus, imagine if something like that, really happened in.
Well, we kind of saw it with the pandemic.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
It almost played out like how the movies say certain swaths of people just went fucking mad, like
man.
very much like how the movies kind of explained it happening.
I'm getting this like dramatic European lighting now. With, like,
it's film noir, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
if it gets too cinematic, let me know.
No, it's good. Let me hit you with a few just things that I have written down that I don't think I'll ever be able to get to again.
Yeah, man.
Because the timer did just go off. I hate taking up people's time. I know I say that.
I'm having fun. So,
which of these do you know just by name? Richard Kind or Richard Kill?
I mean, immediately without even having to think about it, I can picture Richard Kind's face.
Oh, good.
And saw him on something. I saw him interviewed just recently, and just remember thinking that his last name was not ironic, but it was just like fitting. Like I thought to myself, he seems really nice. Seems like a really nice
the
guy.
nicest, kindest guy. Oh,
He's
cool.
really kind. Yeah.
Do you know who the other one is?
Not immediately off the top of my head.
He's a 7'2" guy in the Happy Gilmore movie, when the guy that gets shot with the nail in his head.
Oh, right. Yeah. And I often do take note of Richards, because there's fewer of us all the time. I read this thing a while back that there's no one's named Gary anymore. Like there was a year in recent memory where they keep records of like names that are given to babies, and there was like a year within the last 20 years or something where there was like one Gary.
Wow.
One new Gary, like, oh, Gary is dying.
Where does the name Gary come from? Is it a?
I'm not sure. It is kind of a weird.
It is
when you think about it.
Comes from uncreative parents.
No. I mean, jeez, Adrienne, God.
I'm just kidding.
No, but I was thinking like it's not like it's not like a biblical name,
right?
What region does the name Gary come from?
Yeah. Where does it originate from?
It's an interesting sounding name.
It's probably part of like Gary, like something that was longer from Greece or something.
Oh,
yeah.
It's a Latin thing. What about Uncle Buck or Buck Rogers?
Ooh. I did love Buck Rogers when I was a kid, but Uncle Buck is such a great movie. I feel like because it's on TV a lot that I watch it a couple times a year, I never get sick of it. John Candy being a Canadian and a beloved one. And someone I grew up with watching SCTV when I was a kid. And now I'm an uncle myself 4 times over, and I've always been Buck. So I'm known as Uncle Buck to not only my sister's kids, but to my partner's sister's kids as well, which I love. So I'm a little bit Uncle Buck myself. So there's just no way I could go against Uncle Buck. There's a line from Uncle Buck on I think it's on the King of Drums album, where I say, I'm Buck Melanoma, Molly Russell's wart.
I'm playing hustle sports, wearing muscle shorts. I'm Buck Melanoma, Molly Russell's wart.
What did you say your name was?
Buck Melanoma, yo, from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Back at it once again, cause hell is finally frozen over. Syllable rebound, cynical street sound, typical cheap crown.
Which comes from that scene where he's like talking to the principal of the school. So good.
I'm Anita Horgoff.
Buck Melanoma, Molly Russell's wart.
Man, I don't. our kids just said they watched it, right, Adrienne? But I don't know if they have
think
seen it.
so.
It's so good.
I don't
It's so good.
really remember it. I was a Great Outdoors fan, but I don't really remember Uncle Buck.
Oh man, you got to watch it. It's so good.
Yeah, maybe we got to do a family watch.
It's great.
Or in the hotels. Because it is really good. I mean, anything John Candy was in was pretty magical. It's almost like we don't get people like that anymore these days. It feels like.
So true.
That I don't know what it is about him, but yeah, there's not really anyone these days that's kind of got that aura.
Not at all.
Great.
Well, I've been watching this crazy TV show on HBO.
It's Kenny Powers.
The Righteous Gemstones. It's insane. It's so crazy.
It is.
But
crazy.
John Goodman's in that, and he gives me that.
Yeah, that sort of big guy, really warm
like you.
energy. Yeah, that's true. Not not exactly the same humor, but general vibe of just like a big, warm feeling guy.
But John Candy and John Goodman are almost same era kind of people. Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
Which would you rather take a long plane ride with, just you and this person, Richard Branson or Richard Nixon?
I would say Branson, and I'll tell you why. For a brief period, I was signed to a label called V2, which was his label. Because his original label was Virgin, and then I think he sold the name or something. And so when he started another label, he couldn't call it Virgin 2 because he didn't have rights to that name anymore. So just called it V2. But the V, I think, refers to Virgin. And he was a character. I didn't have a lot of interaction with him. But when I first signed with V2, I moved to New York because the label wanted me close by. Their offices were in New York. I got real lucky and found an apartment like half a block from the offices. And so I hung out in there all the time to just freeload, eat their food and, take records and stuff like that. And once in a blue moon, maybe a couple times a year, Branson would show up, and he showed up with a chimpanzee once.
What?
And I mean, who does that? And, we say there's not too many people like John Candy. There's not too many people like that guy either. Super rich, but just a little weird, kind of eccentric. And so, I've never been, really want to pal up with the super rich guys, but of all of them, he kind of seems kind of fun.
Right.
I mean, I know the guy's got stories. So
those kind of, yeah, that's funny. I forgot that V2 was Virgin because I really was just basing it off the name, but
right. Yeah.
I was thinking, well, yeah, you'd want to be because you'd be in his plane. I think he's a pilot too, right? I mean, doesn't he?
That's right. Because he had the airline as well.
Virgin Airlines, yeah.
And imagine if he had the monkey with him. Yeah, that'd be fun. I've always wanted to hug a chimpanzee. I've been around them, but I've never hugged one, and I've always wanted to.
When you say you've been around them in outside of a zoo experience,
well, there was the time he showed up at the office with me.
Yeah.
But I was at a zoo in China with my ex-wife years ago, and they offered you the opportunity to kind of sit and get your picture taken with a chimp, and you could hug it and stuff, but it was one or the other of us, and she was so psyched to do it I couldn't deny her the opportunity. So I have a picture of her with her arms around a monkey.
I love a chimpanzee. I've always loved them.
And you see the baby ones, and they're so cute, and you just think what would you give to hug a baby chimp?
Yeah.
So maybe
I think in my head I hear those stories of people who had pet chimps that kind of lost it and tore their faces off.
Ate their face off. Yeah. You don't want that, but
I don't want that chimp.
No, no one wants that. No. Can you imagine getting your face chewed off? No.
Not by someone on bath salts or by a chimp.
Yeah.
Who's sexier in Grease, Olivia Newton-John or John Travolta?
I mean, maybe controversial pick, but I'm going to say Travolta. It was peak Travolta time.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely watched a lot of Welcome Back, Kotter when I was a kid. My cousin Michelle was in love with John Travolta. And there's that one scene, I guess it's the prom or whatever, where he puts together the suit where it's like the black suit but with the pink shirt. And I can't remember, maybe his socks are pink too. And I have copied that look many times because I love it. So more often than not, if an occasion calls to get dressed up, there's one of two looks that I like to put together. What was his name? Danny in Greece? I think so.
Yes.
That black and pink look from Greece, or the look that Harry Dean Stanton has in the movie Paris, Texas. I don't know if you can picture that, but that's another look I like. So yeah, man, I draw on that Travolta Grease sexiness regularly. That's a touchstone for me. So for as great as Olivia Newton-John was.
That's a fair answer though, because I don't think her character's supposed to be like the sexy.
Well, that's exactly right. And then when she is right at the end, where she has like the black tight leggings on and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I don't know
doesn't fit her.
How much she's really pulling it off. Yeah. Did you guys ever happen to see? Because I know you're movie buffs. The Beaver Trilogy.
No.
Olivia Newton-John makes me think of this. This is something you're going to want to look into, but it's really hard to find. But it's basically this movie that has been packaged in 3 parts. The first part is just basically found footage. And then the second part is that footage turned into a movie short starring Crispin Glover. The third part is it once again turned into a short film starring a very young Sean Penn in what might be his first role.
Wow.
Really young. Like this is before Fast Times at Ridgemount High and stuff. And basically the deal was that somewhere, probably not too far from your neck of the woods, in Utah, that is, because I think it was in Utah. Is there a town in Utah called Beaver?
Beaver, yeah.
Right?
Beaver, Utah.
So that's why the title, it's referring to Beaver, Utah. And there was a news station in Beaver. And they got new cameras because they were finally making a switch to digital or something like that. And so one of their cameramen was out in the parking lot just testing the cameras. And then this guy walks over and he's all excited. He just went to the station to look at it because he was such a fan of like the idea of TV, and he wanted to be a star. And the closest TV station that they would have had for him in Beaver was this news station. So he happens to be there in the parking lot. And the guy with the camera goes over to him and just starts asking him questions. And the guy's all excited. He's like, is this going to be on TV? And at the end of the conversation that this random guy has with the cameraman, he says, well, hey, look, we're going to be having a talent show down in my town. We'd love to have you come down and film it, because this guy did a segment on the news that was just like the regular people, little special interest thing that would happen at the end of the newscast. And so this guy goes down and there's a variety show that they have. And then at the end, this guy who invited him down is the star thing. And he comes out and he does this drag routine to an Olivia Newton-John song. And in Utah at, early 80s in Beaver, small town, this was like, people did not know what to make of this.
Right.
And this young guy is a super fascinating character. The cameraman shows up early that day when he's getting his makeup done. The only makeup artist in town was the worked as like a mortician. And so they're in the funeral home getting his makeup done. Like, so much of it is weird. And so anyway, I guess years later, the same cameraman, he eventually in later years became a filmmaker. But he took this footage and he thought, man, there's something here. I want to turn this into a short film. And somehow, some way, got young Crispin Glover, to play the role of the main character.
I'll tell you why.
Is he a Utah guy?
He was in not Roger and Me. What's the one where Crispin Glover they're taking this dead cat.
Oh yes, I have that movie.
Roger?
collection upstairs. I know exactly the one you mean.
The director's name is Trent Harris, and when you started talking about
Trent Harris did the Beaver Trilogy too.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's when
don't
you
we
were
know
started.
Trent Harris?
Yeah, he was my screenwriting.
No way.
Professor. Well,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Beaver Trilogy is before the movie you're talking about.
Yeah, I got to see that because as you started talking more and more about it, I remember it. I remember my other professor talked about Trent Harris a lot.
Trent Harris, and then
yeah.
he remade it again with Sean Penn.
Right.
And so he packaged all three together. And if you watch the whole thing, it's maybe 2 hours or something like that. It's mind blowing. I was obsessed with it for years. It was not available. There's this kind of underground video store here in Toronto that I used to go to all the time. I got to know the guy who ran it. It's like, you got to watch this, man. Like, we don't even put this out on the shelves. I'll like take this home for a couple days. I became obsessed with tracking it down, and I eventually did find a copy. In fact, I think I reached out to Trent Harris, and he sent me a copy.
He's probably the only one who still has copies of it.
Yeah. But it's truly incredible. And so, you know, years later, after I became deeply obsessed with that movie, if that's what you want to call it, I shot a video for a song of mine, I think called Shutterbuggin. And I basically remade in just 3-minute form the Beaver Trilogy. It's based on that.
Life high strung. I just want to watch the game and get fat and die young. I go to church, pay my taxes, smile nice, won't swear, don't understand your needs, and frankly, I don't care. He wants to be a cowboy, she wants to be an actress.
And it's one of those things like no one is going to get this, but I don't care. Yes. It's just going to be super weird for people. And, you know, someday there might be one person who watches. It's like, oh my God, the Beaver Trilogy.
Yeah.
I've never heard from that person. So
now we're going to watch that and then Shutterbuggin right after.
Yeah.
So most people just, so I think most people just think of it as like another weird thing that I did. Like,
that's so great. What a great story. I try to explain what the point of some of the just the dumb Sophie's Choice things are, but somehow they always end up into a story that wasn't told anywhere else.
Yeah,
or you never heard them somewhere else. And
I mean that's why it's great, and that's why I love this podcast, because you know it opens up to like these random things and unheard stories, because there's often connections and people aren't asked these things, and it's the best. I love it. Not to mention that you talk to all my friends all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Adrienne and I just had a conversation driving back here to our Hannibal place from Utah, but I was saying I sometimes get worried because hip hop heads are very they know everything about hip hop and about certain things, about stories, about the guests that we're on, but I never go after those. Those stories don't interest me as much as the human experiences do, and I struggle with it a lot. I was asking her should I be talking more about the projects that they've worked on, or tell us about your this song. And
let me tell you something real quick. As you may or may not know, I work in radio. That's my job. Mm-hmm. And I got really lucky getting this job. It's a national radio show. I speak to millions of people every day for my job, but I didn't have any experience. They just hired me as a guy. I think they were more interested to have me be the host of this show as a musician.
Because you're like a national treasure in Canada.
I don't know about that, but I had no training, no background. I didn't go to school for broadcasting. And tons of people auditioned for my job, including tons of professional broadcasters. But shortly after I got the job, I did get a lot of training. I basically had to go to, broadcasting school on the fly as I'm on the job. And so they would bring in consultants and all these radio experts and stuff. And they will tell you that it's way better to ask the question and to have the discussion that every person, the taxi driver, the guy walking down the street right now, that everyone can relate to, instead of the story that maybe 10 people can relate to.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're doing, which is what I think makes this great.
Yeah.
And so one thing that we were taught really early on is that there's like these 4 things that you look for, in particular when you're interviewing people or telling stories on the radio or whatever the case may be. It was heart, health, pocketbook, transformation. Heart meaning stories of any sort of relationship, friends, whatever. We all have relationships. Everyone can relate to that. Health. Everyone has to deal with their own health situations, good and bad. Heart health, transformation, the idea of someone going through a change in their life is an interesting thing. That's what Oprah hung her entire career on, talking to people going through some sort of change in their life. And Pocketbook was the other one. Issues, related to money. That's something that everyone is concerned with, stressed out about, whatever. Those are like your four pillars, and you can't go wrong. Everyone can relate to all those things. And so when you bring up stories that touch on these universal things, if not directly, even indirectly, everybody can relate and can be interested in. So if I interview a producer or a musician, the last thing I'm going to ask them about is, hey, what amp did you use when you were, because there's like literally 5 people who care about that.
Yeah.
Another person who really understands that, and is someone that everyone says is the greatest interviewer ever, is Howard Stern. Love him or hate him, he always gets to conflict. That's where he's always going after. Someone will say something, and then his next question won't even be a question. He'll just say, that must have been terrible. That must have been so hard. Talk about how that was a difficult thing that you had to overcome. That's where he goes time and time and time again. That must have been terrible. Tell me about it. He won't even say, tell me about it. He'll just let the person talk, because it's universal. Everyone knows what it's like, or can identify with the idea of someone overcoming, some sort of challenge or
30 something years I've been listening to him. I would guess I base my interest in people telling their stories just from what I learned from just listening to him. I never wanted to be an interviewer or anything, but even when we're just hanging out, I do like to just talk to people and ask them about what they like to do, or I just like hearing stories. I don't know.
There's a guy here in Canada who's a pretty well-known, kind of interviewer guy, and he used to work where I work, and I had conversations with him about it, and he said, I talk to everybody, no matter how famous they might be, as if they're like the person I'm just sitting next to on the bus. And don't talk to them like they're the famous person. Just talk to them like they're the regular person. I think you can't go wrong, when you talk on that level with people.
Okay, last Sophie's choice, then we'll go to your first, curling or cricket?
Curling, very Canadian sport. I've never done it.
Oh, it seems like it would be hard to do anyway.
It does seem hard, doesn't it? I'd love to try it, but I never have. And I used to watch it on TV a bit when I was a kid. I was fascinated by it, but I've never tried it. Cricket, we used to have to play in gyms sometimes when I was a kid. And it's so similar to baseball that I've often wondered, would I kick ass as a cricket player? Because I've always had the sense that those skills would translate. So if I had to pick one, it just seems like I could kind of slide into cricket maybe a little more naturally than I could curling.
What about as far as watching?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I love watching curling. I just love it. I don't know why. I just
Is that when they throw the bowling ball over the stick?
No, they just push the
rock across the ice.
Like shuffleboard?
It's kind of like
shuffleboard on ice.
Yeah, that's boring.
Yeah, right. I mean, and some people would say cricket's pretty boring too, especially because games can last days or whatever.
Oh.
But when you see someone make like a great shot in curling, it's very satisfying.
I love it. It is very satisfying to watch them perfectly place a rock, or even the strategies of moving one out of the way for their next play. I just don't know. And I just love watching regular people, for the sake, like they're not fit,
they're not great
athletes.
Like
athletes. Regular people send the rock down the way. I love it.
It's pretty great. And like every year, or every time they have like the Winter Olympics, and they're all like doing the opening ceremonies where they're marching into the stadium, and they'll be like, okay, here comes Team Canada, right? And you'll see the skiers and the hockey players, and they're all these super buff, just elite crazy athletes. And then, okay, here comes the curling team, and it just looks like, your Uncle Dan and just a bunch of just regular beer drinking dudes or whatever.
It's the dark
best.
Team.
Yeah.
I was going to ask this one question because whether you want to answer it or not, I don't know. But I'm wondering, how come you never called Cool Keith to be on the Centaur verse?
Yeah, well,
Wait,
you know how people hate the phone, like answering the phone, and if you don't recognize the number, you're just never gonna answer it. And the discussion that comes up here at home all the time is like, oh, Saturday night, let's order Thai food. Okay, well, who's gonna call and put in the order? So I don't want to do it. Will you do it, please? And I've always had that a little bit too. There's just like something about getting on the phone that's like a little bit scary. And even back in those days when it was a much more common thing to do because it was the only choice you had, I can remember kind of sweating a little bit, like getting these nervous sweats going, talking on the phone. And, I had different people say, look, it's all set up, just call him. And I think there was still the part of me that doubted it. It's like, there's no way. This can't be real. And am I getting like set up to be like, punked here or whatever? It was just so hard for me to accept that this could actually be real. And he was always like such a hero or whatever. And maybe it was also just like a little bit of a, don't meet your heroes type situation too, that like scared me off. Now, granted, I look back and like, kind of regret it because who knows what that could have been. And that was some pretty, peak like era Cool Keith at the time as well. So, I mean, it could have been something really great, but
do you, I don't know if you deal with it at all, but is there a sense of, I'm only can put it related to me. I sometimes won't reach out to people who I've heard have said they're willing to be on the show, but I think I don't deal with rejection very well, and I'm afraid if I ask them to do it and they go, no, I'm not interested, all of a sudden I fucking just get bummed out. So I'm wondering if
man,
did any of that play into it?
Big time. That's a big time thing for me as well. The lengths that I will go to avoid that, being, hurt or rejected. I mean, forget about it. Why open yourself up to it?
That's what it is, right? And then there are people that make those statements. They're like, well, you'll never get the answer to questions you don't ask, but I don't know.
And they're probably right. It's probably worth it sometimes to go for it. But I mean, that thing that you just described is real. It's real for me. It's real for you. I think it's real for a lot of people, and it's a really, really tough one to get over. I mean, I'm working on this album right now, and it's a bit of a slow burn. I don't know when it will be done, but I was laying in bed one night and I couldn't sleep. And I was thinking like, oh, what should I do? I'm still kind of like gathering ideas for it. And I was thinking about how in the old days, in the 90s, it was really common for there to be a song on an album, maybe the last song on the album, where it was just shout outs. And, people, there'd just be a beat. It's like, okay, I'm going to give a shout out to like this person and that person. And as I recall, I think like the last song on the Souls of Mischief album, for example, is just shout outs, whatever. 93 Till Infinity album. And there's other classic albums that I really love where they'll have like a little section like that, where you hear all these different, voices and stuff like that. Also doing shout outs to the artist. There's this De La Soul thing that's kind of in my head where you hear a bunch of different voices coming on. It's like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. And I thought, I want to do something like that. And I was thinking like, I know so many people. And even if I don't know them well, like, I could call Sage or Slug tomorrow and not think twice about it. But there's other people who maybe I toured with a million years ago, or, just know a little bit. And when I'm laying in bed at night, I'm thinking, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to do this. And I'm going to reach out to all these people I know. But then like you're in the cold light of day and it's like, man, I can't bring myself to like call so-and-so and ask them to do me a favor for my album. And I got no money for them or anything else. So it's just like, do you want to do me this solid? And there's like nothing in it, for you. And I completely talked myself out of it. It's like, oh, forget it. I'm not doing that.
Oh my
I
God.
completely talked myself out of it. And I mean, I'm sure if I just tried that it would probably be fine. And
we're always our own worst enemies.
That's it, man. And so I don't know, maybe one day I'll just gather the courage, or I'll tell myself, you know what, that's an idea that I will log away for the distant future. And the next time I just so happened to be talking to so-and-so, I say,
yeah.
oh, by the way, while I got you, can you do this thing for me real quick? But I don't want to have to like call them out of the blue. Because it could be the coolest thing ever. Because I think like there's people I know that I think people would be surprised. Like, what's he doing here? Like this is a cool surprise to see this person pop up on a $1.65 record or something.
Yeah,
I thought this would be so fun for people, but I can't do it. I can't do it.
I have the exact. Mine happens when I'm running in the morning. I have all these great ideas. Like I've been wanting to try to just reach out to this one particular artist who's one of my favorite artists to do an art show in our gallery of his work because he doesn't normally share his artwork. And every time I go on a run, I go like, oh, fuck, I mean, I'll just reach out to him because, it's not going to hurt. And then just like you said, by the time, once I get to the place when it gets down to doing it, I can come up with so many excuses why I shouldn't do it right now.
Well, I've been saying that we should ask the guest to say, like, right before they log off, like, and this is DOD45.
Yeah, like
or what? I'm $1.65 and this is whatever that is. I can't do it.
Yeah, I know, right?
I can't ask anyone to do it.
The great thing is, like, with my radio show, I have like producers and stuff like that who can do some of that dirty work for me.
Yeah.
And we don't do it as much as we used to, but it used to be basically anytime anyone famous came into the building, we're like, by the way, can you do this thing real quick? And it's crazy. Some of the ones that I couldn't use them like for my albums or whatever, but getting them from like Adele and Dolly Parton, and, these famous actors and stuff like that. And
did you use them from somebody else's radio station on your album?
No, I don't think so.
Probably not because you're using their Well, I guess it's a level of sampling, but maybe not what you want.
I had this dark thought for a moment where I thought, oh, I could do it with AI. Like, no, that's
not
right.
No.
Really quickly talked myself out of that one. It's like, oh, wait.
That is funny. Do you think that the social media... Well, shit, we better... I was going to say those social media things have eliminated that because when I produced my TV show, no matter who the guest was, we always had them go, hey, I'm so-and-so, and you're watching this show. Like every guest. But like, you don't ever see that or hear that anymore. But
it does seem to be something that has gone away for some reason. I have no idea why, because it's great. And like, another thing that I learned from the consultants at my work is that lots of different voices is always good because it keeps the ear interested, because eventually if you're just hearing the same voice, for a long time, that it becomes wallpaper after a certain point. So it's good to be as dynamic as possible and get lots of different voices. I don't know why that idea would ever go out of fashion, but
I don't know.
You don't hear it as much, and people don't do shout outs on their records anymore either.
That's true. They don't. Yeah, I don't know what that, there's got to be a reason for it. I guess maybe it's just out of fashion.
You recently did on that thing you did with I can't pronounce his name, not Takashi.
What?
The flowers for everybody. You shouted out everybody.
Oh, you shout out Dibbs on it.
Oh,
your
right.
song. You just did it.
Yes. I'm just cluing in now. Yes, of course.
In a year.
Making a million copies, probably 6'2". Daffodils and lilacs, arm in arm we took this art form to the climax. Dibbs, azaleas and peonies, for the inspiration you considered a deity. Sage, Francis, crocuses and violets. Onward we conquered all terrains and climates. Keep going.
Of course, and that's another important part of all of this, is that, in a sense, a shout out or inviting someone in or whatever is kind of that idea that people talk about more these days, of giving people their flowers while they're here. And for me, in the end, the safest way that it felt to me to do is I'll just make the song about these people and basically
it's a cool idea.
List of people that I love them. Kind of thing.
Yeah. I hope you're enjoying the discussion with our esteemed guest that you're watching right now. This is where we normally be going into the dish segment, but we decided we want to give you more time with our guest, so we're turning the dish segment into its own thing of extra content. So tune in next week, same time, same place, with this same guest for the additional content of which the Buck65 says is one of his favorite segments of the DOD45 show, with our guest learning their firsts, worsts, and thirsts, the dish. Okay, that's that. Tune in next week for The Dish, First, Worst, and Thirsts. Now let's get back to wrapping it up with our guest. Peace.
Real quick, it was a source of a lot of excitement here in Toronto last summer where people kept having sightings of Arnold around town.
Oh.
And it's still not known really why he was here, presumably working on something. But he bikes a lot. He's an avid cyclist. And so he was just biking all around Toronto. And people would see him. And I bike too. So I was really hoping I would run into him. And like, you know, this one local website would kind of document like, oh, he was seen at the corner of here and here. And people would be telling their stories. And the great thing is that if he would see someone who he thought was in great shape, he would compliment them. He would just stop and say, hey, nice biceps. To just some like random dude or whatever. Can you imagine how like your day would be made? Like you hear this voice and you look and it's actually
getting
Arnold
a compliment from
Yeah.
Arnold.
You were biking in your tank and your shorts, hoping.
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
Yeah,
You're
I'm
like,
hoping.
maybe he will see me and talk to me about my forearms.
Shoulders or something, yeah.
Reading, or I just saw that they ran a couple of times with Willie Nelson. Like we're running.
Really? Wow.
What was that from,
That
Adrienne?
was, we listened to a podcast. Wasn't it Scroobius Pip running around the lake?
No, this person was from Tahoe. Oh, as our friend. Oh, yeah. Our friend Robert
Oh.
Matthews, an artist.
It's different.
Yeah, sorry.
And Willie Nelson was out running?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Our friend, he grew up in Tahoe.
Yeah.
And Willie Nelson used to play this club there. He'd play for a week.
Harrah's.
Harrah's. Yeah, it was when Harrah's was just Harrah's.
Right.
And he'd go out. It was rumored that Willie Nelson would go out for runs around the lake early in the mornings, and he was a runner. And so he ended up running with Willie Nelson a lot, and they'd have conversations while they were running. He's got great stories. Yeah.
I saw Willie Nelson perform in Austin years ago, and it makes sense that he'd be in that good a shape because he outlasted me after 3 hours. Like, I got to get home and get to bed. He was still going strong on stage. God knows how long he played for.
Yeah, that guy is a treasure. There's something that's a human should be. They ought to take him and make a mold. Like they got to do something. They got to make more of him.
The first time I can remember really making Sean laugh hard was a joke that I told her, and I know you guys like jokes. It's a little bit of a dirty joke. How do you feel about that?
I like dirty jokes.
It's good.
So this was the joke. It's terrible. What's the last thing a woman wants to hear after giving Willie Nelson a blowjob? I'm not Willie Nelson. It might have been my delivery on that particular day or whatever, but she was crying. But
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I nailed it.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Oh man! All right, we're gonna let you get out of here. That's a great way to end it. Where's the absolute best place for people to partake of all things Bach?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
For you.
Well, there's sort of two places that I really live these days, which is Bandcamp and Substack. And I'm often kind of directing people in either direction. But in particular, if anything is going on, you'll hear about it first on Substack. And if that involves new music, I'll often tell people, and it's up on Bandcamp right now. So I guess if it had to be one thing, it would probably be the Substack.
Okay.
And I've tried to reward the people who come there as much as possible. And so there's been some music that I've only shared on Substack as well. So yeah, that's the place. And I try to keep people up to date on what's happening. And, I try to not stay away for too long. You know what I mean? So even if I don't have a whole lot to say, I'll just check in once in a while and say, hey, that post we mentioned earlier is just like, oh, my niece kicking ass in hockey, whatever. So.
But it's cool to read that stuff. Yeah, it's great. And your Bandcamp is like a treasure trove of just.
There's a lot.
Yeah, it's so great.
There was shortly after I set it up, I just went through the process of kind of going through the archives as almost completely as possible and just kind of put up everything there. Really wanted to be able to share everything. The only shame of it is that I really wanted to share Sebutones stuff, which is the thing that I used to do with 6'2", and he's not down.
You didn't want it to go for.
I mentioned it to him, and he said, "Actually, man, I'm actively trying to remove everything of mine from the internet." He said, I'm aiming to have zero internet presence."
Oh man.
And so I was like,
I mean, I get that a little bit, but from a fan standpoint, I hate not having access to people's music, but I do get it. I don't like a lot of my original, my pen sketches. I don't particularly love for those to be out there. But then but it is still part of my growth, so it's nice for people to have that. But
people do love that sort of stuff. But I will, just to kind of cover for the disappointment of the lack of Sebutones content. The last thing Rob and I did together was probably 98 or something like that, and I have been actively after him to do more ever since, because I think we made 2 great records together. And it was always nah, and he's he's been trying out different things. He's off in different adventures or whatever. And so this is a little exclusive here, but at one point last year I said, I'm still not ready to give up. I've been, rejected here for 25 years, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a song, and I'm going to fill out the song with everything that I know Rob loves. All the things that get him excited, I'm going to work into this in one way or another. Things that I know get him excited. And I'm basically going to create the ultimate Sebutones song, where the only thing that's missing is a verse from Rob, which is to say it's complete. I brought it all the way to completion. And then one night I attached that to an email, and in the email I just said, put a verse on this. I didn't ask. I demanded it.
Yeah.
Let me just say he got back to me immediately.
Oh.
And some wheels started turning.
Well, that's great.
I thought we did something really interesting. I felt like at the time we did something kind of new with that project, something a little different from what either of us did on our own. And we talked about it for a long time before we went to work on it. And we kind of carved out, like, this is the philosophy of what this is. And this will be the touchstones for the Sebutones. And we hit on something that I think we both felt like, hey, that kind of worked. That's kind of cool. And let's try some different things that have never really been done before. And I remember before everything kind of really went to shit between like Anticon and Def Jux and all that stuff, that was kind of tough for me at the time, because the guys from Company Flow, like LP and those guys, loved 50/50 Where It Counts, the second Sebutones album.
The apocalypse is now and no one knows it evidently. So I'm here to spread propaganda. That's why heaven sent me in a helicopter. Now who can describe the smudges and blotches? It's okay to cheat if you want and bribe the judges. You know you got it right on when pop goes the Glock weasel. And no questions asked with the pure blend of cock diesel. Hark the herald, werewolves howl at 50 decibels. Butterfly kisses.
And I thought, oh, this is dope, because we were like really big fans of them too.
Yeah.
And right when we had like some really good positive energy going by association with everything else that was going on, that kind of evaporated and kind of took a while to kind of build back, actually. And, just sort of heal some of those rifts and stuff like that. And it's not like I cross paths with those guys all that often these days, but like I said with Aesop recently, like when his album came out, I dropped him a line and said, hey man, it's like, fucking great and stuff. So
I hear people talk about it, the space of the hip hop, of this indie hip hop, for lack of a better term, seems really good right now. Like everyone seems very supportive of each other. It sucks that back in the day there were those message boards and that shit went sour. I really hate that, because I feel like a lot of people are still kind of have a bad taste in their mouth because of those things. And I like it better when everyone's working together and pushing each other, propping each other up. But it definitely seems like a more positive space than what it was back then.
There was some serious negativity that I hated at the time as well. And I, wasn't particularly happy that I was affected by it, even though I might not have been, kind of participating directly in in any of like the drama that was happening at the time. I do feel, looking back in retrospect, that it was, you know, kind of detrimental to like a movement that was, you know, really exciting and picking up some steam at the time. But I feel that there is a real renaissance happening in like underground hip hop again right now. That almost kind of reminds me of what was happening at the end of the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s. It's really, really exciting to see, especially because some of the same dudes are part of it, what's happening right now. And this is a whole can of worms, and I know we've already said we'll get out of here, but it's a big part of what made this new Andre album so disappointing for me.
Oh yeah.
Because before it came out, he said, "Oh, there's nothing interesting or exciting happening in hip hop right now, and so I guess I'll do this." It's like, are you kidding me? This is a really exciting time for hip hop right now. Like, it's cooking right now in a way that it hasn't in a really long time. Some might say that this current renaissance is even better than what was happening back at the end of the 90s and stuff.
Yes.
And so to me, it just showed like it just kind of came off sounding a little old manish. Like you're kind of out of touch, man, because not only is there some really, really exciting and innovative things happening, you know, in indie hip hop and in underground hip hop, but in Atlanta too.
Yeah, no kidding.
How are you not seeing this? And how are you not inspired by it?
We have I set up a whole message feed on Instagram with everyone from Strange Famous. I did it when we did the Strange Famous Records, the Strange Famous Fest. Yeah. So it's a constant message board of conversations, usually just dirty jokes and shit. But that Andre album came up a lot in this message feed. This is just a real great conversation. Yeah. But most people of being disappointed about that.
Mostly what I was hearing at the time was positive about what he was doing. And he seemed to reinforce this narrative that I really don't like, that there is an age past which you shouldn't be rapping.
I disagree.
I strongly disagree. And the last 3 or 4 albums that I've made is going in the exact opposite direction. I told myself when I went to work on King of Drums, this has to be the greatest album I've ever made at 50.
Yeah.
This has to blow everything else I've ever done out of the water at 50. I have to rap better than I've ever rapped before. The cuts have to be at another level to where I've never been before. I have to make the best beats that I've ever made. I have to show people you don't have to be sent out to pasture after the age of 35 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was the message more than anything else that I really wanted to send if I was going to send a message. Not that that was really my main concern. I just wanted to have fun making some music. But for him to come out and say, what am I supposed to talk about? Going to have a colonoscopy? It's like, oh God, you're just dragging the discourse right back down.
Well, his messaging's wrong because basically what he isn't understanding is maybe what the difference is your reasoning behind what you're making now is different than when you were trying to become this famous. Like probably that ship has sailed for a lot of MCs in the underground hip hop. But that's what's better. That's why I feel like the music's better now because it's more of you, the music of yourself and who you are as a person.
You can really do your thing right now. And it's one thing for me to do it where like there's a little handful of people listening and paying attention. But imagine if he did it.
I know.
Imagine if he said, all right, I don't care. I'm not going to worry about the charts and stuff because clearly he didn't to make a flute record. He's not looking to make a #1 thing. So imagine if instead of that, he said, you know what? I'm going to make the most self-indulgent hip hop record ever. I'm just going to go off and it's going to be the most Andre thing ever. That everyone would have lost their marbles.
Yeah.
If they had given them pure, uncut, weirdo, genius Andre. But instead, you were about to say something, Adrienne. I'm interested to get your take on this.
Oh, I was just thinking that maybe that's just that when you get older, people sometimes don't know where to look as far as like maybe he just doesn't know that this is still happening. He's maybe isolated, and it's an unfortunate thing. And I'm sure people have reached out to him since dropping this album.
I hope so. I actually wrote a really long thing for my Substack about it. And then at the end, I said, no, I'm not going to post this. And instead, I just did a short thing where I basically said, this is for Andre. And it's just a playlist of really exciting hip hop that's happening right now, including a song from that Aesop record. But it's like, it seems to me, maybe you're not hearing this, but I think you should. And I bet you'll love it.
Yeah.
And maybe feel inspired by it. And that I felt like that's all I
When
really
was that? Because like I said, I just barely discovered it. So I've got to go back and read.
You wouldn't have to go back far, right around the time his album came out. So, just a matter, probably just like 4 or 5 posts ago.
I wish that because I only pretty much use Instagram, but I wish that they had a better share, like that you could share things like that.
It does live very much just in its own kind of hidden little world.
Yeah, because I don't do the X or Twitter at all. So I do, but I'm like, I have 4 people that follow. I'm like, what am I going to do? Yeah. All right. Well, okay. Well, that's what we're going to send people to the Substack and the music. And then you've constantly got music coming out. So
the current situation would be the North American Adonis album with Dose and the vinyl for Punk Rock B-Boy, which I guess in a sense we'll kind of see as like the official proper release for both. And I expect, because those albums came out pretty close together, that the vinyl for both will show up near the same time.
I texted Zach last night because I was like, I'm pretty sure I ordered Punk Rock. Did I? I had to check with him to make sure I did. And he said yes.
Yeah, so we're kind of that part of the industry right now is a bit of a mess, and so you never know what to expect. But we're hoping that this spring, so those will be the things for folks.
Awesome.
And is that only going to be physical, or is that going to also be on?
No, North American.
No, I know that, but
they're both on Bandcamp now.
Okay.
Yeah, both of them.
Oh, is that one on?
Yeah.
Yep. And I think the physical for Punk Rock B-Boy in terms of CDs and cassettes are maybe kind of on their way out to people now. But the vinyl, of course, is always the slow poke.
I was messaging back and forth with Jeff a couple of months ago because we're going to have him back on again. But then he floated, we should do a North American Adonis. And then when I was texting with Dose to do your intro, I brought that up to him too. And that's two of the 3 who definitely would like to come on. So
well, sure, that would be a very interesting conversation. We didn't get into that here at all.
No,
and this was a lot of fun. I'd come back anytime. So just anytime, whether it's that or anything else. And you know what? Good luck editing this, man. We've been talking now for 4 hours. What are we doing?
Oh, I know. Shit.
You
know what? We have some audience that they go, I love seeing the guests who you can tell are enjoying themselves. Yeah. I appreciate it so much. So thank you.
I'm glad we could do it. Like I said, I'm a fan. I've been watching for a while, so it's kind of surreal for me to be here looking at you guys in that room and everything. No,
it's surreal for us very much. It's a whole surreal experience, and we definitely appreciate it. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your evening.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you.
All right. Cheers.
Lights out.
Peace.
See ya.
Woo! Get funky.
Alrighty then. Who says that? Thanks. Well, man, that was I don't even know how long it was. I thought it was maybe like an hour or so. Maybe it was longer. But oh boy, I could just listen to Buck talk all day long.
And I said, you haven't heard hardly anything because this book is incredible and he's so funny. And it's unfortunate you will never know what's in between these covers.
Me personally?
Yeah, you.
I think I will actually.
I think you will.
This morning when I was going over just some final notes, you had that sitting on the coffee table. And I was looking over it and reading through it, and I found myself. But this is what happens to me with most books that I read. Like with Barfly's book, when I started reading it, I was 50 pages in, fucking loving it. But then I have so many so many things start coming up to where, I'll like if there's something coming up, I'll work from the moment my eyes open until they close. I don't have there's nowhere really that gives me the time to do a reading. So maybe while we're in Florida, I'll read the book.
Well, I'll take it with me then.
Oh,
it really is good. I got to about page 30, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm
on your third time reading it.
A slow reader. No, I've only read it the once, and I really would have liked to have read it again because my memory is so bad. But there's some funny stuff. This like whole thing with leeches and this Pop-Tarts and this boy. They're just really hilarious. It's really good, and it's also a little bit sad.
Well, and that's what's really nice about talking to somebody like Rich is that they really consider he really considers what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like every question, he really gave it real consideration with an answer that was like, oh yeah, that led to a story.
Yeah,
so great.
So the I don't mean to keep going on about it, but the book reminds me of when my stepdad used to tell us stories of his growing up.
Oh yeah, let me see the book too, by the way.
And he's gone, and so very few people know these stories. Just my mom and my brother, and I don't really want to bring it up to my mom because I don't want to like bum her out. But like I'll quote things. Like I'll say things like kindergarten.
Yeah, and that was.
And nobody knows what I'm talking about, and I don't even have his stories. Like, I just know they were wild and crazy.
And you would have wished you wrote them down.
Something. I'm pretty sure my brother remembers most of them, but it's just I'm glad that Buck did. I'm glad Buck wrote them down.
Well, and this is one of my favorite things. I actually read this before I even read it, but real quickly, the foreword to his book is so great. He writes, "When I was a kid, I would believe almost anything I was told. I was willingly gullible. People close to me knew it. To amuse themselves, they'd fill my head with all kinds of fantastic stories and images. When my friend Peter told me he had a pet tiger that lived in his basement, I believed him. It was more interesting than knowing he had a basement filled with neglected exercise equipment, old tires, and boxes of Christmas decorations. I am no longer a kid, but my imagination remains more reliable than my memory. It may be worth bearing that in mind as you turn these pages."
Yeah,
that is so great. That my imagination is more reliable than my memory. I think I have a lot of that.
I think we all do. I think it's very relatable.
Yeah. Our friend Jalani has a lot
and
of that.
And I related to the whole gullible thing, like with the things that my brother always had me doing.
Yeah, no, it's such a, it's awesome. So, but yeah, and like I said, I was looking over. I probably will read it. I've read 4 of those
posts.
The things in his
Substack.
The Substack, yeah, just easy, just simple. Read through them, and it's not like they're the shortest. They're more than 2 paragraphs. But and that's again not to do with anyone's writing or anybody. It's just my attention span it's hard for me to stay focused.
Yeah, but what a nice guy. He said something about Cool Keith and meeting your heroes, and I was like, here we are. Here we are.
Yeah, I was mentioning
my hero.
The Cool Keith thing. I don't remember where I saw it at, but yeah, Cool Keith. He was told that Cool Keith would was down to be do a verse on the Centaur song. Yeah,
I like that song as it is.
No, I know, but like at the time, Cool Keith was like one of Buck's kind of not heroes, but he really was. That it would have just been something cool. Obviously, things don't work certain ways, and it's fine, without hindsight. Hindsight 2020. Is that what I say? Yeah. Anyway, that was a great episode. Probably, I doubt I'll edit much out. So it's a nice, good, long one for you people, and rightfully so, because a lot of you out there who watch or listen to our show have wanted Buck on forever.
I saw you posted something, and I was on Facebook looking at a family thing, and that whatever you posted came up, and you were asking who they'd like to see.
Oh yeah,
and it was like, answer after answer was Buck 65.
Yeah, because you again, you guys all just experienced it, but he's so well spoken and like tells a good like you listen to when he speaks. I don't want to use the word gravitas, but he's got a way of speaking that makes you
and
go,
like
I
he
want
just
to hear what he's saying.
In my eyes, he just flat out disappeared after 20 odd years. Whoops.
Well, technically, he did.
He just like.
He purposely went away.
And I've said this before, and you cut it out because I think you didn't want him to have the wrong impression. But I was talking to Sage, or we were talking to Sage, and I had mentioned that 20 odd years came out, and then years down the road, I'm like, what? I haven't heard anything from Buck. So I look, and then there was, what's the one with the dove, the pigeon on it?
Never. Oh, it's floor. The one with the floor songs on.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyway, so that comes out, but it says it's released in 2005, but I don't think I noticed that at the time. And there's like Dark Angel, there's all this very, very dark, it's very dark and very heavy, and something about something black maybe, and I just was like, oh no, he's on heroin.
Oh, you just assumed
I was like, we lost him to heroin.
Oh, because you're very much, you feel that about all artists.
Clearly it wasn't the case.
No, I know.
And
but you have
Sage
that
was
same-
like, oh no, he is like straight and
Why do you
narrow.
always worry that your favorite people are going to fall to heroin?
OD? Oh, well, because some of my favorite people did
That's
in
true.
real life.
That's
but
true.
yeah, so anyway, and then I just never heard from him. And then we just started doing this and discovered Bandcamp. And so I signed up for his.
His Bandcamp's so good.
You get emails. That's a nice thing. Is you get an email
Well, I do like Bandcamp.
when they are coming out with something.
Oh.
But I didn't know about this Substack.
I forgot to ask him about some people who have their Bandcamps. They have an option where you can buy their entire digital catalog. Yeah, and it's usually something like $100 or whatever. But he doesn't have that option, I don't think, on his Bandcamp. Well. So yeah, there you go. There was Buck65. Thank you so much.
Check out the Beaver Trilogy.
Yeah, that's
Go visit Prince Edward.
That's wild, that
Island.
Beaver Trilogy thing, because that was,
Yeah.
as he was talking about it, I was like, holy shit, that's Trent Harris. I know he's talking about.
And also, if you don't know who Crispin Glover is, like me, in your brain, you only see Donald Glover.
Oh.
We should just Google.
Yeah, but you know who Crispin Glover is, don't you?
No, but he said,
He's
Back to the Future?
He's McFly. He's his dad. He is George. He is his dad.
Really?
Yeah, and then he's
the nerdy one.
Yes,
Oh.
that's Crispin Glover, and then he's the bad guy in the
Matrix. or
Charlie's
something.
Angels.
Oh,
No,
that's right.
yeah.
That's right.
Oh, that's funny, Donald Glover.
I'm like, oh, it can't be Donald Glover.
Same.
I wanted to ask him, but we just
And
didn't
Lost
get
Kingdom.
to it. But his radio show, which I think is called Drive Time, because I think I did follow that on Facebook before I got rid of Facebook. And I tried to listen to the live stream version, or no, after stream. What do you call it? Archived?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it airs in America.
No, probably not.
So that's really rude.
I think it has something to do with broadcasting
Yeah.
laws and rules.
But I think you can pick it up in Detroit.
Yeah, that would make sense because it's right across the river.
No, I don't think Toronto is.
No, but Canada.
Yeah.
And it's not a river, is it? Yeah. Okay. Let me do a movie share. And my movie share is a movie called Blackberry. And I specifically picked this one because it's from a Canadian filmmaker, and it takes place in Waterloo, Ontario. And it's if you haven't seen it, it's the movie about BlackBerry, the phone, and particularly about the demise of it. The demise, is that the word?
The rise and the fall.
The rise and the fall of it. Yeah, and it was really interesting because you don't think about shit like that, like that they had to go get a deal with Verizon, and now in retrospect we get a sense, like you brought up after we were watching it, that they were on the news. They were saying like whoever still has a BlackBerry phone, like you're not going to get service anymore at this time. And that was one of the situations where like there's a massive major product in the world that's used by millions, and all of a sudden it's just going away. But I remember I had Blackberries. I was a BlackBerry head from the beginning. And I liked the touching of the buttons. And I remember when our friend, Alexis, she had an iPhone. They were like the first people with an iPhone. And I was like, this is stupid. Like, you can't feel the buttons, and my fat thumbs won't ever be able to do this. I just remember that vivid.
God, I wish you had a BlackBerry now.
I'm not on my phone that much. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I am on it a lot. But yeah, it's a really cool movie. It's directed by a dude named Matt Johnson. He's also the actor in the movie. It's just really interesting. That story is very, very, very interesting, especially if you grew up in the time and you had a BlackBerry to see. Because I mean, everyone knows the Titanic sinks at the end. But everyone knows iPhone came out. But it was just really interesting, like, to see them talking about this is what's going to destroy us. You could see it on everyone's faces. And so, yeah, it's a cool movie.
And it did.
Yeah.
It's destroyed everything.
That's true. That's true. So, yeah, check that out. It's called BlackBerry. It came out in, I think, 2022. Sorry. And then my song share is a song called Vicarious Atonement by Mars Volta. It is a really good song. It's like kind of, it's a real captivating song. It's like dark, not dark. Shit, I'm not great with these words, but it's a track potentially about seeking redemption or salvation through the actions of others. And I don't do a lot of Mars Volta, but this song's just really good, and they're super talented. And then your song share, Adrienne?
Well, I can't figure out if I want to do 2020 BC by Chesky.
Watch their employees die left and right. Bosses, profits screw up for lost lives as they smile for media commending philanthropy. We've been glorifying wealth and greed and sociopathy. It was packaged and sold to us as the American dream.
Because it so feels right now. I don't watch news. None. I subscribe to 1440 News, and it comes in my inbox, and it's unbiased. So I just know like facts, basically, of what's happening, and I can look further into it with the links I provide. Anyway, it just feels like in the air, maybe it's because it's an election year here in America or what, but everything seems heavy. Like, it's starting to feel heavy again. Is that just me just reading?
No, it's pretty heavy. Shit's pretty heavy, and that song's that's a really good one.
And so, yeah, it comes on occasion on my playlist, and I'm like, oh man, this doesn't feel like yesterday. It feels like today.
It's a great song share too, because it's almost like not a protest song, but that kind of music where it's like speaking pretty aptly about what's going on. And it doesn't seem like people write music like that anymore or something.
No, I don't know. But anyway,
it's a good song share.
So that's one. My other one is more fun and just cute. Why, did you Google them? Did you look them up? You're agreeing.
What song? Yeah, I know what song you're talking about.
How do you? Because you looked it up? You listened to it?
Of course I listened to it.
Because it's on our notes?
Yeah, why wouldn't I?
It's by Tone, the remastered version by Celador.
I know more than I know. I feel your soul under covers. Attention like young lovers. Young but I'm still feeling lonely. I sit round and think, if only I did this or that. Maybe she loved me.
Yeah.
And it's on SoundCloud. I can't find...
well, the vocalist in it is a girl named Asha Lorenz.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I keep looking for it. I mean, obviously not too hard, but...
She's got a good voice. I think she's from London, actually.
Yeah, she sounds English.
Yeah. Yeah, she's in a couple of bands. I didn't look them up, but yeah, I listened to the song, and yeah, it's a cool song. It's definitely the kind of music that you're listening to a lot more these days.
For this.
No, it's fine. The idea is to broaden your music taste.
I'm just saying, it's probably not for this crowd. for me.
But I'm just saying, I was just saying that what you've been listening to a lot of recently, it's very much in line with that. It's a good song. I like it. I like her voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, her voice is really good. I think that she's maybe not with Cellar Door.
She's
maybe
not.
she is.
No, she's, well, from what I saw, she's just
I've listened to other songs of theirs, and I have heard a girl, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good song, Cher. Yeah, check that one out by Bytone. You think you're...
No, it's Cellar Door.
Oh, that's sorry. The song's called Bytone by Cellar Door, featuring Asha Lorenz as the vocalist. I was gonna do a quote. I'm not doing quotes anymore.
You already...
But maybe I don't know. But I do have a in replacing the quotes, I'm doing a joke.
That's right.
So, because those are a little more
I thought
fun.
we were gonna do trivia.
I like laughing. Here you go. Here's your joke. Why wouldn't the lobster share his treasure?
Arg. Oh, man.
Because he was a little shellfish.
Oh. There you go.
All right. That is anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. And let's see. Check us out on all our .coms and socials at DOD45W on Instagram and at ArtByTai, TAI on Instagram mostly. But go to ArtByTai.com to check out what's going on and go to DOD45.com. You guys know that shit. And
peace.
I guess that's it from all of us here. I'd like to wish you
East.
happy drawing, happy conversing, and thanks for conspiring with us. Adrienne has a go out line piece in the Middle East. Peace. DOD45. Thank you for joining in on yet another episode of the DOD45 Show. Please hit the subscribe or follow button so that you never miss an episode. You can even go one step further by leaving us a review on the YouTube stream or on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever it is that you stream our show from. You can find me at ArtByTai on all the socials or at ArtByTai.com. And if you'd like to follow the DOD45 Show on social media, we're at DOD45W on Instagram, or you can go over to our website at DOD45.com where you can shoot us an email, join our mailing list, and watch all of our past episodes. Consider joining us for a live chat on the YouTube premieres of episodes every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Peace.